Yeah, get the family friend.
What the fork are you talking about, Leo?
Sporks and spoons. All right. Well, I'm gonna head to the back. I will be. Yeah. Cool. I'll be right there.
Sure. And we don't have Josh yet. So let me see my show notes here. We are supposed to have. Did I put Josh back? Yeah, Josh is there. Bo is here. I think we got everyone we're supposed to have except Josh.
Livestream's working all right.
There. And Josh will be here soon. I'm sure everyone on Livestream loved hearing that. Snurf.
If he
What am I
arrives
doing?
late, at some stage we'll have to do an extra counting or something just to give Owen something to work with. Oh, something's really echoey.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's somebody's keyboard.
That was just a keyboard.
Yeah, but it's a very echoey keyboard rather than a thump
Yeah,
thump keyboard.
it's not
Well,
Moss's
like
normal keyboard.
It's not my normal keyboard and it's not my normal room, but it's going to be my normal room. I'm on the laptop, but I'm in my new digs.
I think your ambient sound quality is actually a bit better.
There goes a truck.
Yeah, you can't hear it nearly as well.
Okay. It's a smaller room, but I notice it picks up sound all the way from the kitchen. If my wife's in there washing dishes, I hear it more than if I'm in the living room, even though the living room and the kitchen are one room. But anyhow, that might just be my ears. Come on, tongue, you got to find your teeth here. I have managed to whittle these teeth down to where they at least don't hurt, but they still aren't really working like teeth.
At least you can eat.
I usually take them out to eat.
Oh.
It's a lot easier to swallow.
Right.
I can't chew anything, but I eat a lot of SpaghettiOs.
Whatever works.
Just whatever slides down on its own, yeah. Let's keep it family friendly.
I didn't think that wasn't family friendly.
Moss was thinking something extremely dirty.
No, I wasn't. I just knew that everyone else was, except Tony.
I'm clean living, me. I wouldn't know what you mean.
Nah, a bit. Like Shepard in the Firefly Serenity stuff. You don't know anything, but you do. You just don't want us to know that you do.
I'm going to my bunk now.
You and Gladys, right? What was this? What was Jane's favorite gun's name? It was one of those. I'll remember it someday.
I don't remember. It was just that one episode. No. Okay. Got mentioned, I think, in 2 episodes.
Yeah. Well, I've got it.
Name.
What was Jane's gun's name in Firefly / Serenity?
Oh, yeah.
Lucille? No.
Don't think it was Lucille. But it was one of those names, you know.
Leo,
well, we have the internet.
Yes, we do. Oh, that's true. Well,
Leo,
I'm going to mute my mic.
I was going to say you didn't mind me
Vera
filling in the introduction bit, did you?
No, I have no idea. I'm gonna blind read that, and yeah, I'm sure it's great. I started working from the bottom up. And I saw your.
I noticed after I got halfway through. Oh, there's Leo.
Yeah, I was down doing feedback and security.
Yeah,
man, there's a lot of stuff. This is gonna actually be. It seems like Wanderings is shorter than normal, But that also means that we can really expound on news and we can really dive into Odo in security. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I only have one page of Biweekly Wanderings.
Yeah, just one.
Hopefully, the show won't be too long.
Nah, I don't think it will.
It'll probably be a shorter show.
Honestly, depending on how much you guys have on the Mitnick stuff in the innards, that's gonna make the biggest difference.
I've got very little.
Yeah.
Bo, have you read it yet?
And Moss will only have complaints. No, where's Moss? Moss would normally say something about that.
Yeah.
Moss is busy correcting what you're going to say about him in the first up.
Excuse me, sir, correcting Tony.
Well, I don't care. It's correcting what you are going to say.
What, hold on, what was there first?
Something about recording another distro hoppers and getting older.
Okay.
Because Tony wanted us to get older together.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. You don't have a choice.
I remember there was a book out that was an extremely clean book. It just was written to sound like it was not an extremely clean book. It was called The Sensuous Dirty Old Man by Dr. A. And it was actually a humor text, and Dr. A was Isaac Asimov.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
I figured you were going to say, was it Bimbos of the Death Star? Or no,
Bimbos of the Death Star was Bimbos of the Death Sun was good. Its sequel, Zombies of the Gene Pool, was also good.
I haven't read the sequel. I read the original, and I did enjoy it.
The problem is that woman can write anything. That she is fabulous. She is also local to this area, although now she's actually teaching up at Virginia Tech. But that's still in this section of Appalachians. And she doesn't like writing science fiction. She just got those books out and then never touched sci-fi again. But her name is Sharon McCrum. And boy, she can write her way out of any paper bag and make it sound like it's not paper.
Oh, dear.
I am a fan of her writing. I really am.
I wouldn't be able to tell.
Sharon wrote a book on
of the
NASCAR.
Yeah.
She wrote a book on NASCAR, and she wrote it as a revisiting of the Canterbury Tales.
Oh, that's cool.
And her agent said, "What are you writing next?" And he goes, "Well, I think I'll rewrite the Canterbury Tales with the NASCAR fans." He goes, "Yeah, really? What are you going to work on next?" And finally, her agent said, "Well, even if you wrote it, couldn't you just mimeograph enough copies for the people who'd read it?" It turned out to be your biggest selling book of all time. It's called St. Dale.
Son is not sci-fi.
Not really, but it's around a sci-fi convention.
Yeah.
And Zombies of the Gene Pool is not sci-fi, but it's around sci-fi authors and a murder mystery having to do with those authors. Yeah. But she's a native of Asheville and Elizabethton, Tennessee. And she knows these mountains and can write them like no other author alive. Okay, enough for our book review section.
Yeah, let's get to the book review section.
That comes later.
Definitely put that in the Discord so I'll remember that name, because I want to look in. I've never heard of this author. I want to look into this.
Oh, okay. Let me open up Discord.
Oh, a sleeping NASCAR fan, huh?
I'll forget that. No, definitely not a NASCAR fan. But
well, the NASCAR book is worth reading.
It
is well worth reading. It's called St. Dale.
Well, speaking of Joe's cryptocurrency, I was a NASCAR fan for 2 races. Talladega. That was the Doge car. When the Doge car hit the track.
The Doge car.
Oh my God, man. Josh Wise. Oh, dude. I watched an entire NASCAR, what do you call that? Like a show, race thing. So many left turns. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard me, Moss.
So many left turns.
The name of the gun was Vera.
Yes, I saw that, but I was muting my mic so you didn't have to hear me type.
Are we
Huh?
going to get set up and do audio and stuff? Because it's
No,
8 o'clock.
we're going to talk about Dogecoin for a little bit, and how it's going to go to the moon. And if you have any, you're just going to be a millionaire one day. All right, that is the deal.
Prices
So pick
are
up some
fluctuating
Dogecoin.
pretty heavily right now. I mean, they're up from where they were yesterday when we were talking about it. So, and even Bitcoin's sitting right under 20,000.
Yeah. Oh man, that's going to be fun.
Come on,
It's
guys. I
just
want to go
interesting to
to
watch.
bed at some stage.
Ah, fine.
Oh, sleeps
right,
for
I'm
the
ready.
week. Drink more caffeine.
I am drinking caffeine,
So am
but
I.
the sun's coming up in my area. Not so much in Tony's.
Nah.
All right. I'm
Okay,
ready.
I posted it for you,
Thank you.
Bo.
Are we all ready with Audacity?
I am ready
So,
with
3,
Audacity.
2, 1, record, and then 25 seconds of silence.
Sure, and we'll have to figure out what to do
Yeah.
with Josh when he comes
Yeah,
in.
at some stage we'll have to
Yeah.
do a 20 seconds on his end and do another 3, 2, 1, 0
Well,
for.
I figured we were going to give him 10 minutes.
And all the live listeners are going to have to do the silence too.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All your talking ends up in the show, man.
Go on.
All right.
3,
Okay,
3.
I'm ready.
2, 1, record.
Boy, I don't get that often. There's a plane overhead. Sounds
noise
like a
was
prop
coming-
job.
You guys hear me?
The noise was coming from inside my house.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can we hear who?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Oh, we just.
I know.
just
I know.
in
I heard it.
time.
I just couldn't talk.
That's all right. We can start over.
I
if this
gotta
is
get
good,
I was
we
gonna
can
say-
start over.
Might just be easier for Owen to just
All
start
right,
over.
I hit
Yeah.
stop. Control A.
Yeah,
Under record. Hit that. Hit
Edit.
that. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Josh?
Delete or
I just gotta hold on. I gotta make a project here.
No, you're fine. Just let us know.
Let us know when you're ready, and we'll do it.
Actually, I should do that too. I always forget to do that.
Now you're going to have
Yeah,
to change
same
the
here.
intro because Josh is not going to be late.
I'm gonna say it anyway
Get
and be like,
together
"I'm here."
and do it
I
again.
think I'm ready.
Wait. I'm not. EP350.
Oh, I gotta update. I gotta.
Your project is empty. Anyway, yes. Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Everyone else ready? Yes.
No. Oh,
Josh.
yes.
Josh?
That's the word.
He left.
He
I'm
left.
still here.
There
Are
he
you
is.
ready?
He came
Okay.
back.
Getting the.
Are we ready?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear you now? Good.
Okay. Should we do 3, 2, 1, record? 25 seconds of silence.
Let's do it.
Yay.
3, 2, 1, record. No trucks again.
Man.
No plane this
No
time
trucks,
either.
no plane. I brushed a piece of dust off my screen and my table went creak
Yeah.
like a
I
spring
think
or
I heard
something.
that.
Anyhow,
Okay. Ready to do the 3, 2, 1, 0?
we're ready to
That's-
do it. Sync me, baby.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Zero.
Zero.
Moss, are you on a
Very
VPN again?
I am not on a VPN.
Ah.
I am
high
live,
latency.
baby.
Maybe it's me.
Well, I heard everyone else at exactly the
Yeah,
same time.
and when
as
we did
me,
distro
so-
hoppers the other day, when I came to edit the audio, it was virtually perfect.
well, all right. Well, hoping for a perfect. That's good.
Over to you, Leo.
Over to me.
It's Leo time.
Oh, just before we start, are we including the bumper for the New Year HPR show?
Yep. Tell Owen to add the bumper.
Yeah, we were talking about it last episode. And I'm like, I'm sure you put it in there, and he didn't. But we didn't tell him to. So I was like,
well, I put the audio for the bumper in the audio folder for this episode, so it's there ready.
Yeah, I think that's why he asked. I think he saw it. But yes, I believe so. So, and if you're listening, we need to put it at the end. And if I can remember,
or at the beginning, whatever.
Send you a message. Yay! Okay, Owen said I'll end the bumper. Okay, good.
And now, here's Leo.
Oh, wait a minute. The music.
We have so much fun at this show, let me tell you.
Oh, man. Hold on. I got it, though. Look at this. I'm fast at it. Go to Documents. Go to mintCast. There it is. And here comes the intro music. Welcome to mintCast, the podcast by the Linux Mint community for all users of Linux. This is episode 350. This is episode 350.5. Livestream information is at mintcast.org/livestream. We're in the mintcast channel in IRC at irc.spotchat.org. If you see something that you'd like to hear about, tell us. Send us email at mintcast@mintcast.org. Join us live on YouTube. Post at the mintcast subreddit. Chat with us on Telegram, Discord, Facebook, or post directly at mintcast.org. This is Leo, and with me today is Joe.
I'm here.
Tony Hughes.
Hi guys, my audio, my mute didn't come off.
Bo.
I gotta confess, I did not do my homework.
Boss?
Yeah, I'm here.
And a slightly late Josh.
It's been a whirlwind, but I'm here.
All right. We're recording on Sunday, December 13th. First up in our wanderings, Joe preps for 3D work and does some audio editing. Tony gets older and has a new toy to play with. Bo has been educating himself. Moss destroys his wife's computer by accident, and Josh was a little late. Then in the news, we have the latest Mint newsletter. Cinnamon 4.8 arrives. Elementary OS goes Pi, and much more. In security, we shed some light on oblivious DNS over HTTPS. In our innard section, we talk spooky, scary security. And finally, the feedback and a couple of suggestions. Well, these past couple of weeks, I've been cheating a little bit on Linux Mint. I'm sorry. I've been on Arco Linux. Have you guys heard of this one before?
I actually I didn't watch the video, but I just saw the headline of a video the other day, and I was really curious about this OS.
Which video? All 7,000 of them? The guy that puts this together, he's an educator. So he has got, seriously, for Arco, which is really just Arch with easy buttons, he's got a video for everything. Absolutely every question you've ever had, right? You think like the Arch Wiki, and it's got every answer. Yeah, this is like the video version of the Arch Wiki. Everything you've ever wanted to do.
Sounds just down my alley. That sounds awesome.
Yes. So I've been trying Arco Linux. If you do their so they've got 3 different ways to install Arco Linux. One of them is basically from scratch, Arch from scratch with helper tools, and another is just pretty much just ISOs rolled for you that you can just install with Calamaris. And there is a third way that's kind of like in between. both of those ways. But you're basically meant to start at the easy one and work your way toward the hard one, so that eventually you just get off of Arco altogether and on to Arch. But I'm using Arco as kind of a way to get me a tiling window manager, but without me having to do a lot of work. And they've got all of them. Xmonad and OpenBox and i3, and there was another one that I can't remember. There's probably like 2 more.
Awesome, I think is one.
Oh yeah, Awesome Window Manager is another one. Yes. So I decided I have a slight amount of experience with i3 through Regolith, but I know that all the keys are different in plain i3. So I figured, all right, fine, let's just do i3 and we'll see how we get on. And I remember one time, I tweeted this the other day, I remember hearing about tiling window managers that it's good if you want to avoid like repetitive stress injuries, RSI, in your wrists and hands and things that crop up whenever you use a mouse a lot. This ain't it, man. What? Have you tried ever to do the key combinations in a tiling window manager? I'm coming from using Mac at work all the time. And there are key combos like Command, Shift, Control, 4.
Yeah, you got to have that cheat sheet for the first 6 months or so.
Yeah, you do. You do. The key combos are way out there. There's always like 4 or 5 keys involved. But if you're trying to do it one-handed, you're going to cause repetitive stress injuries, not avoid them. My absolute least favorite is Control, Shift,
Leo.
Escape. What?
We will instruct your wife to sew a scarlet A on your favorite jacket.
I'm going to need it. I'm going to need it. But Control, Shift, Escape. Like, do that one-handed, left hand, real quick. Put that on the keyboard. And how does that feel? Feel good? No. It is a very common key combo in i3. And there was another one that I tweeted about too, but it just, oh man, the RSI thing, definitely not. And then I ran into a situation where I was like, oh, I want to resize the window. And I think it's like Windows key R to do resizing. And then you can go to the edge of the thing and resize your tile. And that was another thing where it was just like, this is not better in a tiling window manager because there are extra steps to doing the same thing that you would normally do in a regular desktop. But anyway, it's just, I think these are just the roadblocks that I have going into a tiling window manager coming from a desktop environment.
That's what building shortcuts is all about, and getting yourself one of those hotkey keyboards that you make yourself.
Oh, Lord. I guess that would work, though. Just remap everything to something that you like. I mean, that's probably
you've got
one of the steps that I'm missing.
F13 through F24 that you can use, and so you build your own keyboard with 9 keys. I can help you out, and then you have them all set up.
So it's just funny to me because stepping back from this, you're suggesting that I create a keyboard specifically for the window manager that I did not need before, but I need now because there are so many hotkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you talk to that one guy, Joe, and you have him send you one.
Okay. So that is a good idea. It is a way to kind of get around quite literally repetitive stress that you have to do with some of these key combos. It's not really remembering them, because the more that you do them, the more that you remember them. It's the stretching, the gymnastics of the fingers that you have to do to actually get things done. And yeah, I mean, a separate keyboard would actually fix that, or have like a number pad. Just buy a mechanical number pad or something like that.
You wouldn't have to remap and like create the shortcuts on your own, because you could go into the software the firmware on the keyboard itself and have each button send the proper key combo.
Yeah, true. That would make it way easier to move from, i3 on one machine to i3 on another without having to like move configuration files too.
Right.
It's like building computers in the old days. You got your Altair, and you put in a printer board and a keyboard board and a memory board and this board and that board, and pretty soon you've got a computer. And sure, it blows the lamps out, but that's what you got.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean,
Always
one thing
fun.
I will say about i3 is that it's super duper light. It is down near LXQT quality light. It was like 280 megs after logging in for the first time. So it's got that going for it. And if you're a keyboard warrior and you try to shun the mouse as much as you can, even though in a tiling window manager you can't do that because, browsers exist, and you got to click on a link somehow, and tabbing all the way down to a link is murder. So yeah, it's a really good. It is actually a really good, for all of my rambling, it is a really good tiling window manager. I do actually enjoy being able to shuffle things around all over the place, but there's some pain points for me that I think I'll just have to learn to get around, or maybe find a better way to do it. But either way, good. Something else. Owen said he might send me a Pi 3B, and he heard me talk about it on the last show, and that he pulled the trigger on it. It came way faster than I had ever expected. He said he put it in the mailbox, and like 2 days later, on the slowest shipping, it arrives at my doorstep halfway across the country. So, thanks, United States Postal Service. You're pretty fantastic. So I plugged it in, I got it working, and I installed Git on it. So Git is a Git server software that you can use to do all the Git stuff that you do. Think of like GitHub, right? But local. And you can create all of your GitHub repositories or Git repositories locally and never have to put them out on the internet. They make them super duper easy to back up and everything else. So I've been playing with that, but I've been doing that through Diet Pi. What's up?
So basically SVN with a front end?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, and I'm going to be using it for my notes and a few of the scripts that I kick around on the network, just to see if I prefer that over, Nextcloud or whatever. Because, I mean, it's probably the same amount of steps, I would say, but just different steps. But either way, it was super easy to install over Diet Pi. It's quite literally check a box, click OK, and it was ready to go. But I can't figure out through Diet Pi without breaking stuff how to get it to run over HTTPS. So that's going to be a thing. However, in the feedback, I'll talk a little bit more about how I plan on moving ahead. So anyway, Joe, what have you been up to?
Well, I haven't been doing much of my own stuff in the past 2 weeks, mostly because at work we have lots of people on vacation, so I've been putting in a lot of extra hours doing what would normally be their work along with my work and trying to lighten the load for my boss, so I'm doing some of his work. But I have been able to do some. I sliced several designs to print, but haven't found a good time to get those going. Plus, I think I still need to tweak some of the settings, maybe try a much slower speed with PETG or try a different brand. The brand I'm currently using seems like I get about halfway through the roll and it becomes progressively harder to get a good print. I can't remember the name of the brand off the top of my head. I'll try and look it up before the end of the show. I edited some audio from last year's HPR New Year show for my daughter so that she can remember it for forever. I did get it to play on the Linux Link Tech show. And yeah, I think that little bit of editing I did came out pretty well. I did have to get the raws from the person that originally recorded it because the volume was a bit too low on the edited version for it to be picked up because of the truncate silence. So I got that. I got it recorded. My daughter loves it. So I'm going to make sure to play it for her as often as I can. Maybe I'll set it as her ringtone. Or maybe just take a portion of it and set it as her text ringtone. For the rest of her life. I picked up a PSP for a good price, or PSP Go for a really good price. That was listed as for parts only. I also picked up like 4 other PSPs at the same time in a lot. So I ended up paying $100 for a PSP Go, PSP 2000, and one PSP 3000 and a PSP 1000. I have to say I'm both happy and disappointed with my purchase. Once again, a really low-cost device, and it works perfectly. Custom firmware and a selection of games installed, but limited by the internal memory of 16 gigabytes. The device takes a very proprietary memory module, M2, not M.2. It takes an M2 memory module. And there is only one pre-built adapter available for it, but it's in Japan, and it's currently not available due to COVID.
Is it like a weird length or something?
The M2 module is actually really short. It's like the memory stick Duo. It almost exactly maps to that, but it's even shorter than a micro SD card, and it's like super expensive.
Whoa. Yeah,
for
that's
not much memory.
It was like a Sony proprietary thing, right?
Yeah, but so was the
I remember this.
So was the Duo, but the Duo is big enough that you could turn it into an adapter. The M2 isn't.
And nobody ever talks about those old memory styles, because there was a bunch, and Sony had Memory Stick, and you're talking about the Memory Stick Duo, and there were just a bunch of form factors, and SD just ultimately won.
Yeah, and well, anyways, like I was saying, there is an adapter for it. It requires some work to install, but you can't even get the adapter right now. There is a way to manually solder in to convert the memory stick to make it a Memory Stick Duo. Requires a little bit of finagling on the inside. But I really don't want to do a hard mod like that. I think it would really bring down the value of the device. And I was also kind of hoping that like the backlight was out or the screen needed to be replaced, so I'd actually have some work to do on the thing. But I can't complain about getting a perfect device that much, because those devices sell on eBay even not working for around $90. So I got a really good price for it. I've been using it, play quite a bit of Hydro Thunder, the PS1 version of it. I also yesterday sold another of the PSP 1001s. So I've just about broken even for all the PSPs and parts I have purchased.
I was going to ask you, why was 16 gigs so small? But yeah, those PSP games, or those PlayStation games are like gig, right? Each?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, there are some of them that are even larger in the 2 to 3 gig range, depending. But a lot of them are also in that 700 meg range, which isn't that bad. But with all the PSP 1000s, 2000s, and 3000s, I've got a 64 gig micro SD card in them, and I've got 5,000 various emulated games from Sega, NES, SNES, GBA, GB, you name it, it's on there. So yeah, N64, PS1.
How did the 64 games, how do they play? They play well?
Some of them play well. I haven't tried like 007, which is almost impossible to emulate. So I don't think that one would work well, but like Super Mario 64 plays really exceptionally well.
Actually, that's one of my target games. That one and Mario Kart 64.
Now, I was able to get Ocarina of Time to play, but because of just how intensive that is, it plays, but it won't play audio at the same time. And that's a common problem with some of the N64 games.
Yeah, I may have to look into one of these, because the alternative was building the Raspberry Pi handheld that looked like an OG Game Boy.
Yeah.
And that was cool, but I think the biggest thing with that is that the Pis can't do N64 games. Even the Pi 4s struggle. But if the PSP plays 64 games better,
it does struggle. I will say that with some of them, but there's been a lot more time to do optimizations for it. And a lot of time, what you're losing is the audio.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'll look into it. That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I was able to get the VPN Docker instance with transmission to connect to VPN from inside it. I would connect to the shell inside that Docker instance, but I couldn't get it to work from startup. Also, once I would get connected to the VPN, it would close down. I don't think it was crashing. I think it finished a sequence and then it just gracefully closed. So I'm still using the VM to do my heavy lifting, but I was able to find a VPN client for Docker, for which I was able to modify the OVPN file from my provider and get it working. Sadly, it's not one that has transmission built in, but this has allowed me to set up my Docker version of Chrome with the traffic pushed through the VPN container on all my machines. So I have that little bit of security set up again on all my various machines without having to put a VM on all of them, especially considering some of them are really not good enough to run a quality virtual machine. Also, I've started biking in the evenings. I really forgot how much I enjoy biking. I've been getting a lot of time in, and it seems to be helping quite a bit with the arthritis in my hip. So I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to cut back for a few days because of the soreness. And I have to say, it wasn't last night. It was the night before. I was out biking and I got pulled over.
How do you get pulled over on a bicycle?
What do you want me to say? Well, some of it was, it's kind of cold around here right now. So I was wearing a hoodie and a beanie, and I haven't shaved because, why? And so I look like, I look like I just walked in off the docks, and my neighborhood is, somewhat a nice neighborhood, but we've also had a lot of vehicle break-ins recently. And we're always getting these notifications that somebody's going around and testing all the door handles on all the vehicles in everybody's driveway to see if any of them's unlocked so they can steal things. But so the cop pulled me over, and he was a real nice guy about it, but he seemed convinced that I was going to, be a problem or, feel entitled or something. And he was trying to explain to me, this is why I'm stopping you. And my only response was, I get it. I'm aware of the things that are going on in the neighborhood. I'm not bothered by getting pulled over. But yeah, and part of it was I didn't have a light on my bike, and I guess there's a city ordinance saying you have to have a light if you're riding around at night. So
yeah, I'd be afraid of getting run over. So
well, yeah, well, he was like, "Oh, you were acting suspicious as soon as you saw me. You got up on the sidewalk." I got up on the sidewalk because I didn't want run over.
All right, what were you gonna do on the sidewalk?
He's
just
like,
imagine all the things you
me
could do once you get up on the sidewalk, man.
And then he said that, if I'm going to ride around without a light, I need to stay on the sidewalk instead of being on the street. Okay.
That's good advice.
Yeah. But yeah, I did get I had a bike light. I had just forgotten that it was in a drawer somewhere, so I had to pull it out and charge it up, and I was able to use that last night. So yeah, I'm good to go. Josh, what have you been up to?
Well, actually, on the whole bike thing, there's two guys that are around my area who actually converted their bikes into like little motorized bikes. They put little engines on them, and they're constantly getting pulled over. I see them all the time, but they just keep doing it. So I don't know.
Is there a problem with that or something? As long as it's under 50 cc's, I don't see what the problem would be.
I don't know, but they look like basically bums. I don't know how they got the money to even do it, but I don't know. They're constantly at the Turkey Hill gas station by us, and I don't know. The cop's always talking to them. Maybe he just knows them, so maybe I'm thinking that they're getting pulled over, but I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyway, Yeah, with me, I was a little late. It's been a little crazy with the snow coming, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm here, and yeah, so I got a server from one of my friends. It was a decommissioned server from his company, and it's a HP DL380 G5. It's got a dual Xeon processor in it, and well, 2 processors. They're just 4 cores each, so it's 8 threads altogether. I haven't really done much with it because I can't figure out how to install anything on it. I have set everything I can in the BIOS to boot from USB. I put the USB boot at the top of everything. I have enabled USB. I turned off secure boot, all that stuff. And
Cough, cough. Talk to Leo. Cough, cough.
yeah.
Actually,
I haven't got that far.
I had a DL380 G3, and I'm pretty sure I want to say it would boot from USB. I've since given it away. I had it was one of the ones with the 2.5-inch drives, and it had like 8 or 10 bays, and I had replacement drives. Yeah, I had replacement drives for every bay, so I had like 20 discs, things like that.
Oh wow! Yeah, the guy gave me quite a bit.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Anyway, so I don't know. I might be able to help you out with it. Just get with me after the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I only tried. Let's see. It was OpenSUSE Leap. I think I was trying, and I had like a couple minutes, so I was like screwing around with it, and yeah. So the guy that gave it to me said that CentOS 7 was on it before, so he knows that definitely works if it's anything to do with the USB that I created, maybe. So. And also he sent me a Dell XPS. It's the P54G model, and it's really nice. It's the 13-inch, but it's basically the same as my old laptop, but more compact and much nicer looking. So I got that, and I haven't really done much except for put Linux Mint on that. It's pretty fast. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. The battery holds a pretty decent charge, even though it was at his job, for I don't know how long, years it was, because the battery warns me saying it's at the end of its service life. So that doesn't mean anything exactly, but definitely probably going to go downhill from here. And I've been also writing some Python. I just started last night. I had a couple minutes here and there, and I was just writing some stuff, and basically it's going to be like a little game, just text-based for now. And I'm going to start with exploration and get into more advanced like choices and maybe some building of, small like little civilization type things. I don't know how far I'm going to go with it yet, but definitely going to start with the exploration type thing.
Just a quick question on this one. Is this going to be like a MUD, or is it going to be just like a text-based adventure game?
No, it's for right now. It's just going to be a text-based thing. I'm not going to do any graphics with it yet.
Well,
maybe...
MUDs don't have graphics.
Wait, what was that?
MUDs.
Oh, I thought you said mod, like
MUDs.
Like a mod to a game. Okay, I got you. No, I actually don't know what that is exactly.
Now I feel old.
I've never heard that term.
That's true. Multiple user dungeon. It's
oh yes. I didn't hear that acronym for it though.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna be doing that. I'm starting out really small. Like I literally only have text right now.
There are text-based adventure games where you're basically following a set path, and if you deviate from that path, something horrible happens to you and you die. So it's very linear, and that's a text-based adventure game. Now, a MUD is generally online. I suppose it doesn't have to be, but it's very open world, and you can go to different places in it. You can do quests. Or
that's kind of what I want to go for.
Okay.
If it's not too crazy to start like that. It might be a little crazy.
There are pre-built ones that you can start and then modify.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even know that. I just literally got into it, so I have no idea.
Well, like, I'll send you a link, and you can read up on the history of one of the oldest MUDs, which is Mediavia, which www.mediavia.com.
All right, cool. It's like on the website and everything. You can play like right on there.
Well, you can't play right on the website. You have to have some kind of telnet client.
Oh, okay.
If that tells you how old it is.
Yeah.
But mostly because of how much Telnet has been locked down over the years because of how insecure it was, you have to have like specialty mud playing programs that you download that are basically just text clients.
Okay.
One of them from way back when was called Mudmast.
All right.
I don't even know if it's still around, but they should have links to be able to download one of the mud players.
Yeah, I'll have to look at how they kind of design it maybe and see, like maybe if I can modify that or just kind of use what they did with mine, maybe. I don't know. I got to look into it more, like you said, and I'll check out the website definitely.
I don't know if they've got a public like library or module or anything for Python, but there's a website called AI Dungeon, and it's a really interesting project. It sounds similar to what you're trying to make, but it's like it uses AI to give you back your responses, and
okay, that'd be cool.
It's basically like an AI dungeon master. Like it'll give you a quick little paragraph, and then you respond to the paragraph, and then it'll generate it'll generate a new paragraph after that. Yeah, and it uses other players' inputs to learn and to get better at presenting to you the next paragraph.
Yeah, that's exactly what I kind of wanted to do with it. I wasn't really going to get into the characters yet. I was just going to do exploration specifically because I didn't want to have to get into all of that character creation or, you know what I mean, like personality and stuff. But if it does it for you, maybe, I don't know. I'll have to see.
Yeah, AI Dungeon is pretty hilarious. On my other podcast, sometimes we open the show by I'll just throw my co-host into an AI dungeon and he doesn't even know it's coming,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, I'll have to check out those websites and see how it goes. But yeah, I literally have like 40 some lines of code. Actually, originally it was like 80, and then I decided to cut out some stuff and put it in separate text files and link to those text files instead of having to write it all out in the code.
How experienced are you with Python?
Nothing. I literally just started yesterday.
That's
really cool, man. That's really cool.
So
I've had to strip Kitty some stuff at work with Python, and I really like it, and I want to learn more about it. But I think that's a really cool, and I think it's a really good way to learn things is to just kind of come up with a project and then just start doing it, and you'll have to figure it out as you go.
Yep, that's one thing. That's one thing about learning is if you can put a carrot on a stick in front of yourself, like I want to make a game and I want this to work, then you're much more likely to actually learn something.
Right. Yeah. Well, it works, so I'm happy about that. I can just run it in my on my terminal and it works and everything works as it should right now. I'm actually working on also making it cross-platform, which is a lot more work, but I'm doing it anyway. And I know it's probably not worth it, but I figure what the heck, I might as well do that because let's face it, we have to make things cross-platform or else we're never going to get anywhere in the corporate world, at least I should say. So I figured I'd start there to, get myself familiar with the different things. And basically the main thing that I had to do for that was I had to be able to clear the screen on Linux, Mac, and Windows. And you have to do a special if statement to, if you're on Windows, it'll clear it and use the right command to clear the screen on Windows. And it'll use the right one for Linux as well if it detects which one it's on. Let's see. Yeah, and like I mentioned, the on my Dell XPS, I put Linux Mint on, and I didn't really get it too configured. That's where I'm writing the Python program on, is the Dell XPS, and it's really nice. The keyboard is super nice on that. Yeah.
Which XPS is it?
It's the G. Let's see, the P54G. It is.
So is that that's the XPS 15?
No, it's a 13.
13, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the screen's a little small, but I mean, I got it for free. I'm not going to complain about anything.
I wouldn't complain about a free Dell XPS 13.
No, not at all. It's basically the nicest laptop I've ever had.
They're great laptops. They do have their shortcomings in that you can't, upgrade the RAM. But yeah, I mean, I'd still love to have one.
Yeah, I was like going nuts when he said I can have it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be awesome. And the server, that was he's awesome. I love that guy. But anyway, yeah, so I just got Linux Mint on there, and that's about it for me. So I guess Tony Hughes, you can start talking.
Well, one last thing about your server. Turns out I think I had the G5. The G3s and G4s didn't have the 2.5-inch hard drive option, so I must have had the G5. The way to boot from USB is, number one, it does not support UEFI or any of the new booting anything at all. So you've got to be careful with the ISOs that you're using. If they're UEFI only, they will not boot. And number two,
what the guy told me too.
Yep. And number two, update the firmware as high as you can possibly get it. Hopefully you can still find the firmware ROMs.
I think he does have it updated, he said.
Okay,
I'll double check with him, but I'll have to look.
All right, we'll start with something simple like Ubuntu 18.04 and just see if it'll boot. The server version.
Yeah, I want to try Ventoy too and do it with the non UEFI version and see if that works too, because that would be really nice if that worked.
Cool. All right.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Tony Hughes.
Got there in the end. So we recorded the latest episode of Distro Hoppers Digest on Friday with Dale, who at the end of the show we inaugurated as a new permanent team member. By the time you listen to the edited show, that episode should be available for download. A week and a half ago, some of you may be aware I've been having some health problems and I've missed a couple of shows because of it. Well, a week and a half ago, they shoved a camera down my throat to check out why I've been feeling unwell recently. And they've now diagnosed that I've got a hiatus hernia. So now I know what the issue is. I can hopefully mitigate some of the unpleasant symptoms with a few lifestyle and diet changes. So hopefully I won't be missing any shows because I'm not feeling well. And in the last week, I've celebrated my birthday. I'm not the oldest.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday!
Cheers.
Happy birthday, young guy.
I was going to say I'm not the oldest member of the team, but I am officially an old git. But I got a present from my wife. It's a new toy to help me with my modelling. She bought me a small pedestal drill that I had on my Amazon wish list, and it works great. It's going to.
Is that a mini drill press?
Yeah, okay. A little pedestal drill press. Takes up to 6mm drill bits, so it's ideal for the modelling because there's nothing really that uses anything bigger than a 6mm bit. And it means I don't have to use a hand drill anymore and risk drilling through my fingers that I did a couple of months ago now, and I've still got a numb finger to prove it. But I can use either a vise or something to hold the thing I'm drilling, and it's really accurate because it's a proper drill press. And it's faster speed. The drills go in through like a hot knife through butter, so I'm getting some really good results with it already. So I'm really happy about that. So having a birthday and getting a bit older is sometimes a positive thing. So anyway, I've not been doing much Linux-wise, so I'm going to pass over to Moss.
As soon as I can find my mute button. All right. Last night, I thought I would do my wife a favor and remove Ubuntu Unity from her machine. She wasn't using it and sometimes booted into it accidentally, causing some freaking out. I thought I did everything right, wrote a new boot on the Mint partition, used gparthead to remove the partition, and expanded the Mint partition to fill the vacated space. About 90 minutes before the show today, while talking to my mother about her Medicare running out on her rehab care and she would have to pay $300 a day to stay there while her hip continued to heal, my wife informed me that she had a grub repair screen. I tried a lot of things I've learned over the years, but eventually had to get my Ventoy stick out and boot to Mint. When I still couldn't get Grub restored, and with time running out before the show, I took the easy way out and installed Mint again, and was pleased to see that it allowed me to install alongside the original boot, so she still has her original installation to run. There's a lot of work to do to get it back to a single installation which actually boots. That will happen after the show. As Tony was talking,
I'm just going to ask a quick question here. For your wife's computer, why not just create a separate home partition? So that way when you have issues like this, all you have to do is point the new installation at the home partition.
Well, all I really need to do is do a time shift backup and just do so. I'll figure it out. It out.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I think a separate home partition would confuse both of us.
Okay.
Okay. As Tony was talking, I just managed to complete another circuit of the Home Star, and I'm now 68 years old as measured in this backwards system. Back home,
Happy
we would
birthday.
have done differently. Thank you. As celebrations went, this was not one of my finest, nor was the year itself, but I'm happy to have survived this far, and I'm thrilled to be on the mintCast team. Speaking of teams, we will have released Distro Hoppers Digest episode 18 by the time anyone hears this episode. To date, 3 episodes have reached or exceeded 600 downloads each, which warms my furry little heart. And episode 17 is over 500 already. I am set up this episode to record in my second bedroom with the TV tray and my laptop. If I get any money over the holidays, which is not necessary for my continued existence, bills and food, I will add a smallish desk and a mid-sized TV, say 24 to 26 inches, and move my mini desktop in here. So I will actually have a studio to record in. This also means I will have to get the Pi 4 working as my Kodi server for the living room. Dresden-wise, we're about 75% through proven guilty. Dresden and his team has just marched into Mob's broken-looking stronghold. And I guess we're not talking Dresden anymore since I'm not passing off to Joe. And let's hear what Bo has to say.
Well, before that happens, happy birthday, Moss. I didn't know y'all's birthday was so close. You and Tony?
I think we noticed that in past years, but I don't think we've commented much on it.
No.
Huh.
No,
Well,
we're
that's
both
fun.
Sages.
Well,
Yeah.
happy birthday to both of you. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Leo.
But I'm older than Tony.
Just a bit.
So a quick raise of hands. Who all is working from home right now?
And if you look out, you can see all of the hands. Just
What-
imagine really hard.
What's work?
Oh, I'm
What's
working from home.
work? What-
Oh yeah, it's true.
What's this
Tony's-
work thing?
So Tony is always working from home, is what he's saying.
If I
think.
don't get work soon, I'm not going to be able to buy groceries. So let's talk about work. Yeah.
Well,
I definitely am.
Okay, yeah. I even in the start of the pandemic, whenever everybody was working from home at the company I work for, I still had to go in because the particular area that I work in, like I'm very limited on what I can do from home. Like I literally can't access any of the servers I manage from VPN or anything like that. So I was always there. Like even whenever nobody else was in the entire building, I was still there. And this past week, my son's daycare closed down for 2 weeks because of a COVID related incident. I don't know the details on that, but so I have had to figure out how to work from home for 2 solid weeks.
Wow.
And also be daddy daycare at the same time. And I'm trying my best to find tasks and things I can do without having to actually connect to a server and still be productive to the team. But that is intermixed with running to keep the kid from throwing the cat out the window or something, to run all over the place.
I remember all of that. Yeah.
one of my jobs is a substitute teacher, and they've been closing the schools week after week, and I think it's not going to open again until January at the earliest.
Yeah, I think here, I think so. I think that they're planning on closing until at least then, and then, yeah, they may still be. Who knows?
This means no money.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get it. But so yeah, I've been struggling with that, but in my spare time, I actually picked up, so similar to Josh trying to learn a new programming language, I've started a project in JavaScript, and it's with the hopes of picking up and learning JavaScript. Although I gotta say, I feel as though I'm failing miserably. Is anybody on the show familiar with JavaScript at all?
I can parse it and maybe make small changes to it. But yeah, if you ask me to write anything fully myself, no, it ain't gonna happen.
That was my second option to try to learn, because it's so big right now, other than Python.
I really feel like you made the right choice. Python makes sense to me, and at a glance, like if you don't know anything about JavaScript, just at a glance, you look at it and you're like, okay, well it's importing that. Okay, this is all right. This looks similar to Python. Okay, I think I can work my way around this. But there's just and it also could be the application too. Like even my experience in Python is more with like data manipulation and data, management for the
like scripting kind of things.
Yeah, well, where I work, we have a lot of data scientists that like literally just like bring in a bunch of numbers and then you have to organize it in a certain way. So like I'm used to seeing that. Whereas this JavaScript project that I started, it's actually, I guess I should explain what it is. There's a tabletop simulator called Foundry that's used for like D&D 5th edition and that sort of thing.
And it's fantastic. I love this Foundry VTT. It's fantastic.
Oh, great. I was hoping that you were familiar with it.
Yeah, me and my friends run it on an AWS, I was going to say droplet, it's not what they call it, AWS instance. And
nice.
Just log into it whenever we need. It's pretty fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I just set one up. So I talked about in a few previous episodes that I was starting a new podcast where we were playing Star Trek Adventures, which is a tabletop RPG, similar to that of Dungeons and Dragons, but it's Star Trek focused. It's made by a company called Modifius, and it's based on a different system than 5e. It's called the 2D20 system. Well, Foundry basically has everything you need for 5e. And it has several other games, but there's no Star Trek Adventures system on there. And so I was thinking, how hard could it be if I just make a custom system? And so I found a few
famous
YouTube
last
videos.
words right there, man. Famous last
exactly,
words.
Yeah. How hard could it actually be? Turns out it's pretty freaking hard. So I found some YouTube videos, and the first video I started with, the guy was great. I'll have to go find these videos to also add to our show notes, but the guy was great. He seemed to know like a lot about what he was talking about, and it was like basically like building a system from scratch without using any sort of templates or any sort of prior, like just basically like you're starting with a bunch of blank documents and you're going to build an entire system that's going to be functional in this Foundry application. And so I followed his tutorial. I got pretty far with it. I actually got my item sheets and my character sheets put together, but I couldn't actually get the things to like link together. Like I couldn't say like, this item belongs to this player and should show up on this character sheet. Like I couldn't seem to sort all these things out. And it seemed like his videos, and he says in the videos, these are not meant to be tutorial videos. It's more of him just documenting his progress and kind of explaining some things as he goes. But there's a lot of gaps in there. I feel like there's a lot of places like, from step 1 to step 2, it seems like there's a whole like rest of the owl kind of thing. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's added in there that I don't realize how it got there,
Oh my God, I make that joke all the time. Draw the rest of the owl. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the rest of the owl meme. But so then I started looking into the way other places. So Foundry actually has like a wiki on how to start building a system from scratch. And if you follow their wiki, they tell you to use a thing called boilerplates, which boilerplates is a set of HTML5 templates that already have pre-built in. Like once you download your boilerplates and you install it, it already has all your JavaScript stuff like templated out. It already has a ton of stuff, and it seems to be based on the 5e system. So you're basically it's almost like you're downloading the GitLab project for the 5e system, but then you can manipulate that to match some other system. And so that's basically what I did. Was I started from a boilerplates, blank install, and then it also uses a functionality called handlebars. Handlebars JavaScript, which is handlebars is really neat. And not all. I want to say, I'm trying to explain this, and I probably sound like an idiot to somebody that knows about these things. I don't know anything about this type of front end development, but handlebars is like you can use it to inject code from somewhere else in your JavaScript or in your HTML5. You can have it inject into the HTML of a different file. So using these two tools and following the wiki instructions, I've been able to get a working Star Trek Adventures system. You can load up your character sheets. You can add in all your attributes. You can manage your items. You can delete, create new items. Everything seems to work. I've even got some automatic rolling in place. So like if you fire a phaser in the game, it'll automatically look at your character's attributes and see how many dice you're supposed to roll in order to fire that phaser. And that all seems to work correctly. But the core mechanic of the game, I'm having trouble getting the JavaScript side of it implemented. So the core mechanic of the game is the game master will give you a task, and the task has a certain difficulty, and you have to roll 2 d20s, and then if the d20s are below your target difficulty, then you succeed. And you don't just succeed with like a 17 or something like that. Like you get a number of successes that have to match to succeed. Anyway, I'm not trying to teach you how to play Star Trek Adventures, but I can't get this core mechanic to work automatically. Basically right now, if you were to, and I've got a GitLab project up for my Star Trek Adventures system, if anybody wants to use it, I've already got that link in the show notes. I'm not guaranteeing it'll work for you, but it seems to work for us, and I don't know what I'm doing. But that you basically have to roll 2d20s and then do the math yourself. I can't seem to get the JavaScript section of the system to actually do that math for us automatically. And so that's the point I'm working at now. So if anybody listening to this knows, is like a JavaScript guru, I feel like we could get on a Skype call and we could get this working, because I feel like it's not that complicated. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. So if I got somebody that did know what they were doing, we probably could work this out and have the first working system for Star Trek Adventures on Foundry VTT. And that seems pretty cool to me. So I don't know if anybody listening wants to help me out with that. Send me an email at bo@mintcast.org, and we'll get this working. But
just do some. His pull requests are open. Just go do a pull request on his GitHub.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely pull it. I need to update it. There's a few things that I've got working. Like for one thing, you know how in Star Trek everybody has different colored shirts based on their rank or their position. I've got it working now so that whenever you type in your position on your character sheet, it'll actually change the color scheme of the character sheet to match whatever your position is on the ship. So I've got to upload that to the new GitLab project. But also, I want to put some screenshots and like a README up there. Right now, there's just a default boilerplates README, so I need to type out something more specific. But yeah, anybody that would be willing to help me on that, it would be awesome.
I'm looking at the handlebars thing real quick, and handlebars, I was thinking like, oh, bicycle handlebars, like you'll get the hang of it real quick.
Yeah, no, it's all mustaches.
It's not about bikes at all. It says mustache compatible. So it's just a bunch of templates that you can import that get converted to JavaScript and run. So it's like an easier way to write it. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, I've never done it any other way without handlebars, just because I'm learning this as I go.
Nice.
But yeah, if in the JavaScript it's declaring a certain variable or declaring a certain something like, for example, like the attributes on your character sheet, that has to be declared as an item in your JavaScript, and then if you want to use that in HTML, well, those two things don't necessarily know about each other. So handlebars like interjects, whatever that item is in the HTML file.
Cool. Okay, it's a middleman. I like it. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to learn this. Like I said, right now you could use my GitLab project to play the game. You just already have to know the rules. It doesn't do any automated rules.
So this thing like has a GUI and everything?
Well, VTT is the GUI. You have to have that first.
I got you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, this only works in conjunction with Foundry VTT.
I got you. Okay. I was looking at this thing and I'm like, that's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, no, I didn't write anything with Foundry itself. This is just like an add-on, basically, for Foundry.
I got you.
But yeah, that's all I got this week. Just daddy daycare and attempting to learn JavaScript when I'm probably supposed to be working.
All right.
No,
well,
I've been having to do the daddy daycare thing too while working, and my son is, at least in school, but school from home, so it's quite fun trying to keep him on task.
Yeah, I'm not the best at it, to be honest with you.
I'm not either, because I end up like on phone calls for 6 hours straight.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is I do a lot of conference calls. Is kind of the nature of my job, even when I'm at work, and so I'm basically like on a conference call, either trying to help somebody figure something out, or listening in on something that's supposedly super important. And at the same time, like the other day, he demanded to go downstairs. He wouldn't stay upstairs, so I had to take my laptop downstairs, put it on the kitchen counter, and then I'm talking to somebody. I'm viewing their screen as I'm trying to walk them through fixing something. Well, all of a sudden I hear the sliding glass door open, and I look up, and he is now tall enough to open the door and just walk outside. And so I'm like, oh, well, hold on 1 second. It's taking off, trying to, about yanking my laptop off the counter because my headset's still on, to keep him from just wandering into the neighborhood.
Or trying to do the fast mute so you can yell at him real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a fun one.
Just do what most parents do. Just let them roam around the neighborhood. Heck, I see kids that are like freaking 8 years old just walking around in the middle of nowhere. I'm like,
man,
what
around
kind of
here
parents?
you will get the cops called on you.
Yeah, so
your kid was 10 feet. Your kid was 10 feet away from you. Guess what? That's child abuse. You're going to jail for forever, and your kid's going into foster care. Have lots of fun.
Yeah, not here.
Well, when I was a kid, by the time I was 6, I would wander off and go to the park all by myself all day long. I mean, seriously. Yep. I don't know what the big deal is these days, but it was, I think 6-7 years ago now, there was a kid in El Paso whose mom was working at Village Inn, and this kid was like 12 years old, and at the park across the street from the Village Inn, and the Department of Human Services got called because obviously, the kid was abandoned or something.
Obviously.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Okay, I'm off my rant.
All right, well, then that'll do it for Wanderings, and we'll head down to the news. So in the news, we missed it by 1 day, 1 or 2 days, something like that. But a couple of days after the last episode was recorded, obviously, the Linux Mint Monthly News comes out. So we're 2 weeks late to the party, but it's good stuff. It turns out the news was mostly about the new project that Clem and Co. are working on, which is that Hypnotics thing. So we mentioned it in the last set of the monthly news. Hypnotics is basically an IPTV player. It comes with one channel, and I mean, saying it comes with a channel, it just has a link to that website that hosts all the channels. But you could just watch all your stuff through it. It's a lot like, really, it's kind of like a Netflix kind of thing, but the providers are all over the internet. Some websites just have all kinds of different feeds that you can watch. Local news, world news, yeah, everything, right? Yeah.
So will this still be blocked if you're outside the region where you're supposed to be able to watch it?
I would imagine so, because this is no different than going to the website and watching it yourself. So
it's just a convenient way of storing things so that you can get to them directly.
Exactly. And it'll also do that kind of library thing where, if you've got links to a movie or a TV show, it will download the metadata for it. It'll get you IMDb stats for it. It will pull down images and things like that for easy searching. Right. So it's got that Plex vibe to it, but it doesn't provide, just like Plex doesn't, right? Doesn't provide any content. You go add the content to it, and it just kind of manages it for you.
So it's just like a big web app, really, but specifically for TV.
Yeah. That's quite literally what it is. That is what it is. So that's what most of the news is about. So if IPTV is your thing, then yeah, it looks like Hypnotix is in beta now. You can go grab and download and install it and use it to your heart's content. It's version 1.1 right now. But subtext here is that we got an announcement out on GitHub that Cinnamon 4.8 is available, which means that Linux Mint 20.1 is coming soon. So you can get Cinnamon 4.8 in distributions like Manjaro or Arch, those rolling distros, or you can just download and compile it and install it yourself if you want to on Linux Mint. However, if you wait just a little bit longer, you will be able to get it directly in Mint without too much fuss.
Late Christmas present, 2001.
The last few years has been an early Christmas present.
I was going to say, I don't even know that it's going to be a late Christmas present because Clem is already uploading testing ISOs for it. So if he can get that sorted out in the next, 10 days, Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yay. Oh, that'll be an early update for my laptop.
Yes. So some of the cool stuff that's going to be coming in 20.1, really it's going to be Cinnamon 4.8, but it's coming with 20.1. So you'll feel it in 20.1. You're going to get a better Flatpak side-by-side install with other apps experience. You're going to be looking at some new keyboard shortcuts for displaying the applet menu. You're going to see keyboard shortcuts for muting the mic. Hello. This is something that we've been dealing with for the longest time and had to manually configure. Yeah, exactly. But now it's built in. You no longer have to send someone and say, hey, go run this entire script and hide it behind a keyboard shortcut. No. Built in now, something that I have been clamoring for, that Moss and Tony tell me is in the mate version, which is, it's a long time coming for Cinnamon, but I'm glad that it's here.
I'm surprised it wasn't in Cinnamon by now.
Yeah, so it was just a shortcoming of Cinnamon that I think looks like now we finally get that feature. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but the built-in one isn't always going to work depending on how many different microphones you have or the type of microphone you have hooked up.
Well, it's a pulse thing, so it was surprising to me that it didn't exist.
Yeah.
But looking as well, you're looking at improved tray icon support. I mean, to me, the icons are fantastic. I haven't noticed anything weird, but there's still some things to make them better on 4K displays or high DPI displays. So that's coming. And my favorite, startup time. On an SSD, I don't really notice it, the startup time, but you're telling me that it's going to be faster? Okay, I'll take that. So really good stuff. Be aware, if you jump on 20.1 / Cinnamon 4.8 right off the bat, some of your spices will not work, right? Those desktop applets, those taskbar widgets, those things like that, they still need to be updated. A lot of those are not maintained by Clem & Co. So you have to wait for the maintainer of that spice to get it updated, make it compatible with 20.1. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. It's likely to work anyway. You can force it. It'll ask you. But yeah, just be aware if it's not working perfectly out of the box, just turn it off for a little bit, check it every few days, and I bet you money it will be ready.
Who needs spices when you can sip a little mate?
No, I love me my spices. So get ready. Linux Mint 21 Ulissa is coming. And next up, we have Raspberry Pi OS gets updated. Hold on. What did I just say? I was reading off something else. I said Ulissa 21. It's not 21. It's 20.1. Anyhow, Raspberry Pi OS gets updated. Yay!
Leo's a little dotty today.
Listen, I was reading straight off of a thing, so I want to say it's not my fault, but it's totally my fault. Anyway, Raspberry Pi OS gets updated. So as we're getting some new Pulse stuff in Cinnamon, you get some new Pulse stuff in Raspberry Pi OS too. So they are switching over to Pulse Audio sound applet so that they can allow you to change the volume of individual streams in Pulse, right? So if you're listening to a YouTube video, you're listening to Spotify and this and that and everything else, and you want to be able to turn down the volume through the sound panel of each individual audio creating software, you can do that. Now they've moved over to Pulse Audio, so that's good. And cups. It's going to be.
If you haven't been paying attention, it is not Raspbian anymore, people.
Yeah, Raspberry Pi OS. I'll still call it Raspbian. I guarantee it. But you've got the cup service going to be installed by default, making it way easier to install printers on Raspberry Pi OS, and some Orca updates for those with visual impairments. So if that's you, hopefully the new Raspberry Pi OS will be perfect for you. But speaking of Pi stuff, Elementary OS. Two things I never thought I would ever actually see together. Because Elementary OS has this thing where they're laser focused on one thing, and that is a great desktop experience, right? That's their entire thing. They use Ubuntu 20.04 as their base, and well, not yet. That's coming. But they plan on using Ubuntu 20.04 for their base, and then just going with that forever, and just making sure that the desktop experience is top notch. Well, they've branched out a bit because they're gonna now be on the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, but there's a lot of caveats. If you read the link, go to the page for the link that's in the show notes. There's a lot of caveats there. They say there's some problems with video streaming. It's not as smooth as they'd like it to be because the particular kernel they've got for the OS doesn't support GPU smoothing and stuff like that, rendering properly. So it's a bit jerkier than they'd like. Plus, they're not guaranteeing they're going to give it long-term support. It is a development release, and it's experimental, as they call it.
Yeah, I think this is just a lot of GTK. GTK3 is not amazing on lower spec hardware. So that includes things like GNOME and Elementary OS, or what is it? The Pantheon desktop, Budgie and Mate and all these other ones, right? They tend to get a little herky-jerky, right? As things go on, as memory gets eaten up, as graphical memory gets eaten up. So they recommend using a Pi 4 with 4 gigs at least.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about the Pi 400, that's the only one you can only get that with 4 gig. And as they say on the website, they normally recommend even on really good hardware a minimum of 8 gig. So how smooth 4 gig's going to be?
I don't know. If I wanted a walled garden on my ARM chip, I'd buy an M1 machine.
Ooh, are you gonna? All right, cool.
I don't have any money for an M1 machine, but Elementary has always been a walled garden mentality for me. I can't break through into getting all the stuff I need.
I have to admit, I did peek over that wall for a little bit, and man, M1 performance is pretty fantastic. So yeah, but
it looks super nice on my MacBook Pro.
Ooh,
I know they don't like when you compare it to that, but it looks really nice. It just doesn't work
it
right.
Is that they don't get to decide what people compare it to. It just is. I mean, they've got that entire mentality that macOS had that made them successful, and it is obvious that Elementary OS is successful in that way because of it. So, I mean, it's not that much of a stretch to compare them to macOS. I feel like it's silly to be worried about that. But, I think it's important, though. The distinction is important because they have their own app store. So, like, I don't know, all the ingredients are there to make them the macOS of Linux. So, I think it's fine to do that. But anyway, yeah. So, Raspberry Pi 4 or Pi 400 with 4 gigs of RAM at minimum. But you know what? This is piggybacking off of a lot of work that they had already done for the Pinebook Pro. So they already had the ARM port. It's just making it run as best as it can on the Raspberry Pi hardware itself. So to be honest, let me ask you this, y'all. If Elementary OS ran flawlessly on a Pinebook Pro, would you use it?
I'd have to have a Pinebook Pro.
Well, let's say that you had one. Would you use it?
True.
I would at least give it a try.
I don't know.
I'd probably run Manjaro myself. Incidentally, our listener Jackie Moore said he is selling his Pinebook Pro on eBay, and right now the bidding is up to more than double what he paid for it.
What?
These are hard machines to get, people.
Wow.
Because they aren't out. They only make limited batch.
Right, but geez, man. Wow.
Just like all the GPUs, they're buying them low and selling them high.
I guess. Wow. If I want one, I will just wait. Double the price? That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, anyway, good on Elementary OS. It's nice to see that they're branching out, and I'm happy to see them on things like the Pinebook Pro and the Raspberry Pi. It's fantastic. All right, so next up is the opposite of good news. CentOS is dead. Red Hat killed it. Thanks. Well,
we promise we won't change anything when we buy your company.
Is this the first casualty?
This is not an IBM casualty. These decisions, I'm assuming this is not an IBM casualty. These decisions don't happen just right off the bat. You know, this is not like a decision they made 3 months ago and then they're finally deciding to work on it now. This is the whole reason Red Hat bought CentOS. They had this plan from the beginning, before the IBM acquisition. You don't buy something without an idea of what you want to do with it. And that's exactly what Red Hat did. Red Hat, I bet you, saw competition in CentOS. It hurts their bottom line when people run CentOS instead of getting a subscription to Red Hat or to actually licensing Red Hat. So what are they doing with CentOS Linux? Is dead. And it is not really that huge of a deal to kill off a project, right? It is perfectly fine for Red Hat to do this. What really rocks the boat is Red Hat acquired CentOS. CentOS then announced that they'll be rolling a CentOS 8 in the footsteps of Red Hat 8 and Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. And what that means is it follows the support model of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, which means 10 years of support, right? So what happens? Red Hat comes around and says, hey, all right, we're going to discontinue CentOS Linux and remove 8 years off of the end-of-life support. That is what is bad. They can kill CentOS Linux all they want to, right? But going back on a promise that you made people that are going to be running this distribution that have this idea, and not just out of the blue, you told them that it was going to be 10 years of support by quite literally leaving that number there. And then you're going to turn around and say, nah, we're not going to do that.
But if you're not paying for something, you've got to take these risks, haven't you?
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. But CentOS has had a good track record of just having the support.
But that was when it was independent.
True. But what I'm saying, I guess what I'm really getting at is that Red Hat is not doing themselves any favor by burning their customers. People that run CentOS, quite honestly, roll into Red Hat customers. They're running CentOS for a reason. Otherwise, they'd be running Ubuntu or some other Debian, something like that.
Or they're running CentOS at home because they're used to running Red Hat at work.
Exactly. And if you burn somebody like that, it's going to be a tough sell to keep them. Because, there are definitely companies that are just like, well, okay, CentOS is gone. Now we're going to have to roll it into a subscription. I get that. And honestly, that's probably what Red Hat is banking on. But I don't know, man. You burn a lot of people by doing this, and when you burn the people, you burn the bridge sometimes.
But I'd heard
Well, yeah, but you throw enough rocks and things get real rocky.
I guess.
I have heard though that there's already plans to fork CentOS and produce another community version.
There is. But before we get there,
it's rocky.
Yeah, before we get there, CentOS is not fully dead, right? CentOS Linux is dead. CentOS Stream is the new thing. And CentOS Stream is quite literally Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 beta. That's what it is, right? So Red Hat Enterprise Linux right now is on 8.3. CentOS Stream is 8.4. That is quite literally what it is now. So it's not like you can't get CentOS anymore. It's not going to be compatible anymore or something like that. It's just not what it was promised. So that's okay. It's not a big deal. We've got this huge lineage now where it's like Fedora, a couple years later it hits CentOS Stream, and then a few months later it hits Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So it is cool. It is an awesome addition, but it's just sad to see the promise that was made just go up in smoke.
Where does that leave Fedora if they're now using CentOS Stream or to test things ready to go into Red Hat Linux?
Well,
where does that leave? Fedora has been the kind of the development arm for the last few years, hasn't it?
Fedora is the cutting edge. CentOS is a development to make sure it's stable, and then they bring in
you've got
Red Hat.
Kind of SID, of, semi-stable and stable.
Well, so we got to be careful with the nomenclature there, because SID breaks, right? Like SID will break.
Yeah.
Fedora
doesn't break.
It doesn't really break. No. It's usually pretty stable, but it's like newer of the new stuff. It's quite literally the newest of the new. It's as close to a rolling distro as you can get without being on a rolling distro. So yeah, definitely new stuff. And then I think CentOS Stream and Red Hat Enterprise Linux are probably just going to be months apart anymore. But Fedora is probably years apart.
But that still doesn't help the people that were running CentOS for stability reasons.
Right.
Because they're now going to be on a cut. If they want to continue to use it without a license, they're going to be on something that's not guaranteed to be stable, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So they're in a way a bit of beta test, some beta testers,
which isn't always good on a server.
Right. I mean, the whole reason you're using CentOS is because you do not want it to change, and CentOS Stream, it's going to change.
Yeah.
But as you and Moss pointed out, CentOS Linux, not Stream, does live again. And that'll be in the form of Rocky Linux. So Rocky Linux was named after one of the original founders of CentOS, who has since passed away. And the other, what was his name? The other founder of CentOS is going to be heading up the project. So sounds to me, and that's Gregory M. Kurtzer. It sounds to me like... we're getting CentOS Linux back. We're just calling it Rocky Linux from now on.
Can't stop the signal.
Yeah, what I thought was kind of funny about CentOS, though, is that it's not very C anymore. Community, right? Because Cent stood for Community Enterprise. And once it got acquired by Red Hat, it was less C and more Ent.
Well, now it should be more C again.
Yeah, exactly. Because with Stream, they're actually putting calls to action out to people that want to influence the way that Red Hat is going to move forward. So, I mean, yes, now the C is coming back, but it took a little while. And they burned the C in trying to include more C. So, a little half in, half out there. Anyway, so hopefully Rocky Linux does its thing. I'm really excited for it. I really hope that folks that were burned by CentOS Linux 8 having its end of life chopped down by 8 years can one day move over to Rocky Linux. And I would imagine Rocky Linux 9, which tracks RHEL 9, will probably be the point where everybody gets to swap over.
I really loved the quote that Kurtzer had. Rocky Linux is a community enterprise operating system designed to be 100% bug for bug compatible with Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
Yes, and that was actually, I remember reading, I don't know if it was the wiki or the about or whatever, but that was actually a bit of the tagline that CentOS had as well. It quite literally is 100% bug for bug. And it is kind of funny the way that they put it, but if it's not, then it's not RHEL. So it has to be. It absolutely has to break the same way RHEL would break. I like that. All right, next up, Qt6 is out. What? I don't know about Qt6, man.
Well, as we all know, Plasma is numbered the same as Qt. So we are also looking at Plasma 6 getting ready to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And we all remember what Plasma 5 and Plasma 4 were like when they got started.
Okay, look.
So if you're running KDE Neon...
4 was horrible.
Yeah, 4 was a garbage heap, I totally admit. 5, however, even though it was a rocky start, speaking of rocky, it was just update after update that made things better and better and better. And now, if I ever had to leave Cinnamon, that's where I would go.
Well, but the beauty of you running KDE Neon is that you get the latest Plasma.
Yep, absolutely. But I don't even know that. I know they were talking about starting to track Qt6, but I don't know that Plasma 6 is anywhere near ready. It'll be nice to see, though. Anyway, next up, GUIX. Is it GUIX or GUIX? 1.2 is out with an 8-year anniversary.
I don't know.
So it looks like it's
1.2.
Yeah, the GNU package manager, essentially. Is that right? I think that's what we said.
And you can run it with Herd.
Yes, GNU Herd. Wow. For all of you that are listening to this show through GNU Herd, yeah, you can use GUIX to get your stuff installed. Yay. Wow. It's good stuff, though. It's good stuff. Well, speaking of package managers, there's one more. Again, I have no idea how to pronounce this. SOUK. I'm going to go with Souk, because that's how you would pronounce soup. So Souk is a flat pack software manager for GNOME. So their whole reason for existing is that the GNOME software store just is not great with flat packs. So Souk is here to the rescue. Yay! And it quite literally just takes care of your flat packs. That's it. But instead of letting GNOME software eat up your RAM, you'll let Souk eat up your RAM. But it's written in GTK4, which makes it slightly future-proof. And it's got editor's picks and recently updated. And, you know, that whole thing where you kind of expect a software store to be, it meets you there halfway. So pretty cool stuff. All right. Well, that'll do it for the news. So we'll head down to the security update. All right. Thank you, Londoner, for bringing this one to my attention. I have been hearing about it over and over and over and over and over again. This is a really cool addition to DNS over HTTPS. It's called Odo. Yeah. Oblivious DNS over HTTPS. So let's rewind just a little bit. What is DNS over HTTPS? This is basically a way to obfuscate your DNS queries. Is it perfect? No. But here's what it does. You've got, say, Cloudflare, which is the default in Firefox, run DNS, but over HTTPS, which gives you TLS security, and it's over TCP. So there's no way, there has to be a connection between you and Cloudflare to be able to actually do this. Typical DNS is UDP, which means that you just spray your request out to the internet and hope it gets a response. And if not, you just keep sending and keep sending and keep sending. Yeah, TCP requires that you set up a conversation between you two before all of this happens. Anyway, the thanks to HTTPS, no one can see what you're actually asking except you and your endpoint. With regular DNS, if there's anybody between you and your endpoint, they can see it. It's all in clear text. So your Microsoft.com query can be seen by anybody that can grab the packets out of the air or off the wire. So this is really what is being fixed with DNS over HTTPS. Well, there's an issue with that. Do you trust the DNS provider? So Cloudflare and many others are doing DNS over HTTPS now, but do you trust them? Well, there are a lot of people out there that say, no, I do not trust Cloudflare, so I'm just going to use regular DNS or whatever. So that means you have to trust everybody else, right? But Cloudflare, along with Apple and a couple others, have decided, well, let's fix it then. So this is where oblivious DNS over HTTPS comes in. All the obliviousness happens in a proxy. So there is a server set up between you and your DOH, DNS over HTTPS provider, and they just obfuscate everything. So instead of you sending your queries directly to Cloudflare, you send it to the proxy, and then the proxy sends it to Cloudflare. So here's why that's better. So Cloudflare before would know your query because it's attached to your IP address, and that IP address can be used as personally identifiable information, right? Well, by adding in this proxy to the chain, the proxy does not decrypt the traffic, which means that they don't know the contents of your query. They do know your IP, but when they send on the communication, your request to Cloudflare, Cloudflare sees that as coming from the proxy. So Cloudflare cannot attach your IP to your query. This effectively makes Cloudflare oblivious to your identity. And because the proxy cannot see what your query is, the proxy is oblivious to what you're asking. So all of this obliviousness adds a bit of anonymity. So this makes DOH just a little bit better. Again, is it perfect? Nope, but we're getting there.
It's weird how things keep kind of linking into our topic for the day.
I know there's been so much security so far, but yeah, and this is just another way to make yourself just a little bit more anonymous and give you a little bit better feel for
two things about Cloudflare. One, at least it's not your ISP's DNS. And two, at least it's not Google DNS.
And now 3, they don't even know who you are. So this is a fantastic change. I think a lot of the DOE naysayers some of them may get converted over because of this. Now that you don't have to trust Cloudflare anymore. This is just a good change. So from the article, they sum it up in a bit more technical term, but I feel like it would be remiss if I didn't read it. So they say, together, the added encryption and proxying provide the following guarantees. The target, meaning Cloudflare, sees only the query and the proxy's IP address, and the proxy being the middleman. The proxy, middleman, has no visibility into the DNS messages with no ability to identify, read, or modify either the query being sent by the client or the answer being returned by the target. Only the intended target can read the content of the query and produce a response. So, a bit more technical of kind of a recap of what I said, but that's it. That's it. Nobody knows anything except for you and the proxy and the target, and it's on a need-to-know basis only, giving you just a little bit more protection. Good stuff. Now, I didn't put this one in here, but the next article is open source devs not concerned about security. What does this mean? Nobody? Okay, I'm going to guess. You just throw it in here and don't even read the article? Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's see.
Sorry about that. I was off carving on my teeth.
I gotcha. So what is this? What is this about?
The headline is open source developers say securing their code is a soul withering waste of time.
What does that mean?
A survey of nearly 1,200 FOSS contributors found security to be low on developers' list of priorities.
Oh, I get it. All right, so I understand what this is, and yeah, I do not disagree. So here's the gist of this and why it's important. As a developer, you want to make what you want to make, right? And I encourage you to do that, and you should do that. And that's really kind of the end of the conversation, right? Like, take Bo for instance, right? If he wants to learn JavaScript, he's going to dive into what he likes to do. Otherwise, soul withering is a really good way to put that, right? So if you're building something that you want to build, and I'm like, no, stop doing that. You should be focusing on, having less Linux distros or something like that. That's not what you want. You don't want to do that. So you're not going to do that.
A survey conducted by the Linux Foundation suggests that contributors spend less than 3% of their time on security issues and have little desire to increase this.
Exactly. And so to kind of bring that point around, these people want to make the software that they want to make, whatever that is. They do not care about the security implications of that. They will leave that to somebody else because it's open source. So they focus on what they want to focus on. Someone else can focus on the security part of that.
They focus on what they find interesting.
Exactly.
So if that keeps them programming, then by all means.
Right. And the downside to that, though, is that, yeah, you're going to find security flaws, things that will break. I mean, if you're not paying attention, you'll just code a buffer overflow right in there, and then it'll if this is like a username password keeper or something like that, it'll just dump out usernames and passwords. So that is absolutely a bad thing. But it's not what they care about. It's not what they're going to do. So I mean, far be it from me to be like, well, you should really pay attention to the security implications of the software that you're making. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we ask them to do it nicely. And, even it probably doesn't even matter if you pay them. They'll still not think it's fun, and they'll probably still not do it. So, yeah, it's one of those catch-22s. You can't make someone do what they don't want to do. But if you care about the security implications of that, you're stuck. You can't use the software. Or if you do use the software, you have to accept the risk. And that is just where we're at right now. Sad stuff. So next up, TrickBot. So TrickBot was a banking fraud Trojan back in the day. But now it is a full malware as a service solution. Right? You've heard of software as a service. You've heard of infrastructure as a service. You've heard of metal as a service, right? Yeah. Now, malware as a service. Yeah, that's it. You just go buy a little solution and you take it. You say, "I'll point there. I want you to do that," and it will. Yay! That's not good. That's not good at all. But this is not that interesting on its face because this is not the first malware as a service solution that exists. What is interesting, though, is that TrickBot may be able to use UEFI malware. Now, UEFI malware is malware that, it is what it is, right? It's malware that lives in UEFI, which means it's a bit of a firmware malware, not just something that you can easily uninstall, right? You would have to flash your BIOS or UEFI to fix it. And if you don't know it exists, you'll never fix it. No amount of reinstalling your operating system will get rid of this. So,
could you fix that with EFI Manager to delete the infected file?
No, absolutely not. This is a firmware hack or firmware malware, which means that the only way to fix it is to quite literally reflash your firmware. You know those disks that you get from HP or Lenovo or whatever, and you have to boot into them, and then you have to install that software, and then you can reboot? And it's like, please don't reboot while this is happening. Otherwise, you might brick your laptop. It's that deep. And TrickBot is at least showing some ability to install this stuff.
So it's installing itself to the motherboard?
Essentially, yes, into the read-only memory of the motherboard.
Not very read-only then.
Well, I mean, ROMs can be written to. Right. They're just called ROMs because they're not meant to be written to a bunch. But yeah, and the crazy thing about this is not necessarily a Linux security issue. It's an everybody security issue. It's a Windows security issue. It's a Hackintosh security issue. I mean, I would suspect that it's much more difficult to install UEFI malware on a Mac than it is on a PC. Well, I hate saying PC, but on a machine that was never meant to have Mac on it in the first place. But that's just where we're at right now. That means Windows and Linux are disproportionately going to be affected by something like this. And yeah, so it's OS agnostic. Doesn't matter how many times you reinstall Windows or how many times you reinstall Linux, it's still there. So scary stuff. You could even swap your hard disk altogether and the malware will still be there. I do remember there was an issue with the Mac, a firmware attack like this a long time ago. It's long since fixed. But you installed the virus to the keyboard, and then it was persistent. You could install Mac OS as many times as you wanted to, but it was still installed via the keyboard. So anyway, long story short, TrickBot may be coming for you. Scary stuff. All right. Well, that'll do it for security. So let's talk about security. So we alluded to it a couple weeks ago, and here it is. The book, The Art of Invisibility by Kevin Mitnick. So this is going to be our Mint Club. It's going to be a book club, Mint Club Mint. There it is.
Yeah, so, trying out something new. We'll see how well it goes.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do some more Kevin stuff, but only if they're, based around technology. So tell us how you like it, and we'll decide from there if we're going to do another one.
I like it. I wear a tinfoil hat all the time, man. So this book was speaking to my soul.
Yeah, there's a couple of other of his books that I'd like to do. Now, I do like this particular book, but really it's not about security. It's about anonymity, and security is kind of a byproduct of anonymity in this case. And it's about, go ahead.
Well, one of the cool things about this is that, Joe, you're absolutely right. It's a handbook for how to be anonymous on the internet. But as you said, there's a lot of good stuff that just comes out of that. And so I've tried to distill the let's be secure, not anonymous stuff down at the bottom of this. So at the end of this segment, we'll go over just the bits that you can use in your everyday life to make yourself a little bit more secure. Not anonymous, we'll talk about that too, but secure.
Yeah, anonymity is definitely, true anonymity is definitely hard to get. And he talks about the different things you have to go through in order to be truly anonymous, and the reasoning behind each of the steps that you have to take in order to be anonymous. It does get to be what seems a bit extreme, but he does discuss the reasoning that you need someone else to purchase a gift card in order to get the VPN and the Bitcoin wallet, and the ways of putting more money into the wallet anonymously. And yeah, it is a bit paranoid, but really the reasoning is there. And one of the things that I want to mention is Kevin says in the very first chapter of the book, you may not have anything to hide, but you do have everything to protect. And I think that's a very important statement on his part. Kevin goes into detail about how different people were attached to the identity that they created online, and how they were caught, and also advises how not to make those same mistakes. And as I was saying before, the most extreme of which is to get someone that is not associated with you to go in and buy a gift card, so that you are not on camera buying the card. So even if you bought it in cash, if you're caught on camera, that kind of, negates the whole purpose. And then you use that card to purchase a VPN from a company that does not log and does not require you to identify yourself. And then you set up a burner machine and never log in from home, and you use that burner machine and the VPN in order to set up a Bitcoin wallet. And I think you also said at that point you need to set up a different burner account, like email account, and a different wallet, and then send the money from the first wallet through a cleaning service and then into the second wallet.
Yeah, Bitcoin Tumbler.
Yeah, a Bitcoin Tumbler. And that disassociates you or your own identity from those Bitcoins. And then you can use those Bitcoins to pay any further fees to a VPN. Honestly, at that point, you should also get a different VPN account with a new burner email. And use that Bitcoin wallet to make purchases online. You can also use this to do things like publish articles and remain anonymous, but you do have to keep switching locations and continue to trust your VPN. And the reason you have to switch locations, and he also mentions like not sitting down in a cafe and using the Wi-Fi there, even if you're on the VPN, because you could be tracked to that location. Instead, or by cameras. So instead, you'd sit like in the building next door and attach to their Wi-Fi and then use the VPN. And then you keep switching locations and it's harder to attach you to that machine. He also talks a lot about using PGP keys and touts the use of HTTPS everywhere, which is a good thing to have, but most of your modern browsers do that built in now anyways.
So far, that's only Firefox. Only Firefox 80, the newest one, whatever, the 84 maybe, has HTTPS everywhere. No other browser will do that out of the box for you just yet, okay. Though I'm sure Chrome is not far behind.
I thought Chrome, you could turn that on.
I think you still need an add-on for that.
No,
for now,
it warns you and says it tells you not secure whenever you go to a normal HTTP site.
Right, but Firefox will stop you. Are you talking about the padlock thing? The little padlock with the cross through it?
No, I know of some sites that I can get to where it's just HTTP and it will automatically go to it, but it will tell me that not secure up in the top.
Right. So this takes it a step further. Firefox takes it a step further, and you can say, just never ask me, don't ever go to an HTTP site, like ever. And that, I think, is where the HTTPS everywhere add-on, it allows you to do that. Or you can take that middle ground where it says, if I go to HTTP website, tell me, and then I'll decide from there whether I want to continue or not.
Right. Right. And, well, he also discusses the various types of tracking that advert agencies and the government do, different ways to subvert that, including using a VPN, HTTPS everywhere, and a non-standard DNS. And one of the most important things is when you have a burner device, you never log into anything that is attached to your identity if you want to stay anonymous. Once you log in on your burner device or your VM or whatever to one of your accounts, then all your traffic from the one is now attached to you.
Yep, this was
it's that simple and it's that provable.
This was exemplified by how the Silk Road guy, Ross Ulbricht, how he got caught. Because the FBI was able to track, he had made a post on a public forum under Dread Pirate Roberts, and then edited it minutes later, changing it to Ross Ulbricht. So that
he created a post online saying, okay, well, if you have any ideas about how to do this anonymously, please email, and then his actual email address.
Yeah, well, there were two instances. So there was one where he changed his who was posting, and then there was another where he actually linked his email address to one of his other accounts.
Yep.
So little tiny slip-ups like that blow the entire thing away. your burner laptop and all the work that you did giving some guy money to go buy you a gift card, and then you buy a phone, and then you buy a VPN, and then you do all this stuff through Bitcoin and Bitcoin Tumblr. One mistake, gone. All of that stuff is now tied to you personally and blows the whole thing up.
Right. And he also talked about changing your MAC address every time you log in or every time you change locations so that your fake identity is not attached to a specific machine. And I can really see how that would be helpful, even if it's not necessarily the easiest thing to remember all the time. But you could probably script that on a Linux machine, just make it simpler.
I want to say that Tails, the Linux the Amnesic Linux operating system has a facility to deal with that for you.
Yeah. He also did talk about always using Tor. He talked a lot about using Tor for those specific things and the different endpoints and understanding that it could be monitored. Tor does provide anonymity by sending it through various locations first. And then I don't have it in my notes here, so I'm going off the top of my head. That he also discussed the burner machines themselves and various different uses for them and the issues that you could run into even traveling internationally or just if you get raided or something like that. He did talk about using full disk encryption, but that doesn't stop some countries from forcing you to give the password unless you want to spend time in jail, and then giving them access to everything. Like Canada has laws where you have to provide access to your devices if they ask for it at the border. And him being Kevin Mitnick, he gets questioned and stopped a lot. So he had recommendations for if you want to keep your banking data secure, then get a Chromebook since it's very limited on what it can install, and only use that Chromebook to access your banking information, which is a good idea, maybe a little paranoid for me, but that's what he says to do. And then he also mentions that because you can be searched in that way while crossing a border, even into the U.S. border, you need to make it so that your machine automatically locks. You need to do things like power down your phone because your iPhones and your Android phones, you can be compelled to give a thumbprint to unlock your device. But on that first power up for the most devices, biometrics won't work. You have to enter in the PIN the first time.
And are you saying they can't compel you to do the PIN, but they can compel you to do biometrics?
At the U.S. border, they cannot compel you to give PIN, but they can compel you to give up a physical key, which in this case would be your physical thumbprint.
Or a lot of times point the phone at your face.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh, can you look this direction? Oh, thanks. And yeah, it's unlocked. So they can do that. And then at that point, they can search your phone. But if it requires a PIN, they cannot compel you to give that PIN at the U.S. border. Other borders, it's different.
So let me ask you guys a question. For the non-secret agent listening to the podcast, why would we be interested in having all this information?
Okay, so that's what I'm going to do at the very end of this segment. I'm going to, here's what you can take away from this. You do not have to be a hoodie guy in the coffee shop connecting to, next door Wi-Fi or whatever, but there are some really good takeaways from what he is talking about. But quite literally, there are people out there that do need to be anonymous. Think of whistleblowers and people that are, putting out news stories that are not favorable to powerful people.
Yeah, there have actually been instances, and it's mentioned in the book, of police officers being arrested for stealing sexy pictures that were shared between spouses. And that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, right? I think that he said in the book. But that right there, if you have pictures that you don't want the police officer to see that you shared with your significant other, then that's a perfectly good, legit, legal reason to not want them in your phone.
Right. Legal or not, that's just gross, man. Like, come on. So, yeah, encrypt your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he also did discuss full phone encryption and how to set that up manually. But I think even Android now, I think the entire Samsung line comes pre-encrypted.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago, so things have changed. But I think even back then, iPhones had full disk encryption, as of course
Built in,
now
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are ways around it. And he also discussed of the 4,000 something computers that the FBI had confiscated in order to search. Only about 25 of them actually had full disk encryption on them, and of those 25, they were still able to decrypt 22 of them. He does go into using a password manager. And, having that one main password and having it be a passphrase as opposed to a password, and all the garbage that people use for passwords. So, yeah, there is some security involved in that as well. But another thing was, in talking about burner devices and crossing borders and things like that, he was talking about, trying to mail a 2.5-inch drive to another location, and how it got confiscated and drilled through, and all the different problems he's had being Kevin Mitnick, because he's Kevin Mitnick and notorious for being a hacker, even though he served his time, and that should all be behind him since he's now a security expert. But yeah, so it's basically get a cheap device, either don't have a hard drive or have a easily cloned hard drive, and just if you go overseas, make sure everything that you have is disposable. And another thing he mentions is, if you have data in the cloud, it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It can be subpoenaed by the police. Records from phone companies, they're held for something like 5 years and can easily be subpoenaed. And it doesn't even have to be a subpoena. That information is for sale. A stalker can get all of your information from anywhere, really, and use that information to track where you go all day, every day, for just a couple of $100.
One of the things I think that he was really kind of trying to drill home in some of the later chapters was that how easy it is to do things like spear phishing on you because of the things that you didn't even think of, think you were doing at the time. Like taking a picture in a public location, wearing a t-shirt of your elementary school, right? How many times do you go on a website and it asks you, whenever you create a password, hey, there are 3 password recovery phrases, things that we need you to set up before you go on? And how likely is it that you'll choose the elementary school I attended, and then let that be the password recovery question that you ask yourself? And you just gave away the answer in one of your public photos. Exactly. Yeah. Where were you born? How many times on Facebook have you talked about that, or even just given up that information? So, and this is all freely, publicly. What is the first make and model of your car? How many people that are sitting here right now, especially that skew to the younger side that had social media when they were growing up, took a picture of their car the day that they got it because, oh, look at me, I have a car now. Picture, upload that to Facebook, upload that to Twitter, upload that to Instagram, upload that to Snapchat.
We didn't have those things when I got my first car.
Yeah, he actually had instances of taking a picture and going from a picture to a social security number.
Yeah, exactly. Because you leave this trail of information and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So I think the point of it is, or at least, the overall takeaway from a lot of this book is just understand what it is that you're doing when you're on the internet. It's one thing to just log on and click, and I just want to go to Facebook, or I just want to watch some YouTube or whatever. But it's another to actually take responsibility for your hygiene on the internet, making it harder for internet baddies to come and steal your identity. I've watched people give up their information in real time to people that were trying to con them. I've watched it happen in real time, and people don't even give it a second thought. It's like, oh, I don't know why you need my social security number, but here you go. Why not? Right? I don't know why you need the last 3 digits of, I'm sorry, the CVV number on the back of my credit. I don't know why you would need that, because they have a picture of your credit card from the front. That's why they need it.
Yeah.
And it's just...
He does talk about people having phone conversations and giving out their credit card number over the phone out loud around other people.
Right, exactly. And you just don't even think about it because, I don't know, in our heads when we're on a phone, we think the conversation's between me and the other person. But yeah, there are people around you too.
But these are the same people that would click on a link in an email that they don't know where it's come from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really weirdly recently, like I've had 3 family members get their Facebook account hacked. And what happens is the hacked account then sends PMs out to everybody that the person knows with a link, and then you click the link and it sends you to another page, and it asks you to log into Facebook to verify that you're
and that
logged in
Facebook,
correctly.
buddy.
Guess what? That's how you got hacked.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And it's just nobody can connect. Well, nobody. There are a lot of people out there that just cannot connect these dots because they don't want to take the time to learn why, learn how this works, and think of DNS. How many people can actually sit there and tell you what DNS means? Not many. And that is at the root of a lot of the things that Joe was just talking about. That if you can spoof a URL, then you're golden. It says facebook.com, but you click it, and underneath, that's not where the URL was actually going to take you. It's going to take you to, I don't know, flickbook.com, because they were able to buy that domain, and they just put a fake Facebook back behind there.
Yeah, or after their fake login page, they do send you directly back to Facebook.
Exactly, and it's like, please enter your password. You're like, why would I need to do this? I just did it. Yeah.
I think one of the crazier things was actually one of the lower tech ones where the drug dealer guy in Australia, he got caught just for having his personal phone, too close to his burner phone, and they just associated those 2 numbers with one person because they were always calling from the same area. Yep. I was like, wow, that's
pinging
crazy.
Off the same tower every single time, right? Yeah, exactly.
They were able to prove that the burner phone belonged to him because of the continual proximity to his own phone. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just little things like that will just get you. And he also talked about, some of the paranoia with cell phones and when they can hear you talking and what they might send back, and various devices around your house the same way. Like your TV, what's it doing when it's not listening? But
that was really interesting with the TV thing.
It's never not listening.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the 3 stages of when your phone might be listening, because there is the whole wake word thing for that as well, from both Google and iPhone. And then
what's this about TVs listening to you?
Well,
I haven't
TVs
got a TV that can listen to me.
A lot of TVs nowadays are voice activated. The newer ones, the nice $3,000 4K. I'm sure some of the cheaper ones do too now, but
listen, you're paying
even my
extra,
Roku does it.
But they've got to be connected to the internet as well.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
So the rule of thumb is, as long as your TV's not connected to the internet, you're all right.
or rule of thumb is, if you're not going to connect to the internet, don't even buy that TV.
Well, actually,
they don't
now
sell
you can't
dumb
get
TVs
non-smart TVs.
True, very true.
Yeah,
just don't connect it to the Wi-Fi.
Well, that's also some of the paranoia with the phones, which I've been trying to mention, but can't seem to get to. No, the whole thing is there's a couple of different schools of thought on it. Like, that they're probably listening when they're turned on. But there's some people that think that they can still listen when they're turned off. and that's the paranoia group. But then there is also malware that can make it so that your phone looks like it's completely off, but is still listening. So yeah, the paranoia isn't necessarily unwarranted.
Yeah, and one of the things about cell phones in general is that there is equipment out there that typically law enforcement has that I think they call it the Stinger. Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting to. It's called Stinger or something like that, and it basically acts as a cell phone tower. Your phone connects up to it, and it basically just becomes a proxy for your phone.
I think it's the Stingray.
Stingray. Okay, cool. And so at that point, they can just copy all of the everything that's going on with your phone. Now, here's the thing, right? You there's a lot of folks that are just like, oh, well, it's law enforcement. They're the good guys. They would never do anything wrong. Right, exactly. Cool. Let's pretend that is true. And what about the hardware that you can get your hands on that does the exact same thing that isn't owned by law enforcement?
It's the same as setting up your own, Wi-Fi hotspot at your local bistro.
Yeah. And calling it the same thing as the local bistro's hotspot so that you accidentally connect to the wrong one. That's exactly what this is. And so the fact that anybody can get their hands on stuff like that is what makes it dangerous.
Yeah, and then, another thing was, did you know that it's a federal offense to have a live lobster?
That was so surprising to me. I was like, what? No way.
So if there are pictures of you doing that, then guess what? You committed a crime. And guess what? If your phone gets searched and that picture's on there, you can be charged.
Yeah. Oh, and the rest of your phone is subject to search.
At that point, yeah. Basically, your whole life is subject to search at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how do restaurants get away with serving lobsters that are still live?
Good question.
Dun, dun,
Most people just ignore the whole, federal problem there. But yeah, I think there are.
Maybe they have licenses or something.
Yeah. Well, the point that Kevin was trying to make in the book about that is that there's so many obscure laws that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you think, you are breaking the law somewhere, sometime, and that puts you at risk to be searched or, any of the things that if a cop wants to get you on something, he can.
Have you ever urinated outside? Guess what? You could be considered a sex offender.
Okay, so a while ago I looked up crazy laws for PA, and one of them was if a horse is crossing in front of your car, you are supposed to disassemble your vehicle, because this was made way back in the day when vehicles weren't that, crazy. You're supposed to put it into somewhere where the horse can't see it, let the horse pass, and then reassemble your vehicle. I actually looked this up, and it was an actual law, and it's still in place today.
This is Texas. You legally cannot spit on a sidewalk in front of a woman. But you are legally able to take your wife up to the courthouse one Sunday a month and beat her.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And you can carry a firearm in open view.
Oh, yeah. That's not a crazy law.
Everywhere.
That's just Texas.
America, yeah.
That's just Texas, yep.
But yeah, and it does go into a lot of other things. It does talk about, burner phones and the craziness to go through to get them and how to be disassociated from them. And we already kind of went into that. Oh, I can't think of anything else. Leo, or who's next?
Well, I did put a few things in, but it was it's very basic because I only got around to reading the first chapter or listening to the first chapter. So I took on board when he was talking about password management. And although I've never used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or password as my password, I must admit I probably need to pay a bit more care in choosing passwords in the future. Maybe make them a bit harder to crack. The other thing he suggested was possibly having a dedicated laptop device for doing all your financial service work on, and only switch it on and use it when you're doing your banking or whatever. I remember when I first got into Linux, someone was, and live CDs were becoming the thing at the time. There was an article in, I think it was the New York Times or the New York Financial Times, talking about doing your banking using a live CD, because no one could hack that because it wasn't a writable disk. So you couldn't get hacked that way. So there's a few useful things in the first chapter, but that's as far as I got. All the stuff that you've just been talking about, Joe, I never got around to looking at, but some good information there.
Yeah, and it's really, I think that book is not necessarily for the regular guy that just wants to say, I don't want to get hacked, It's way deeper than that. But I think that's what makes it interesting. You can kind of put yourselves in the shoes of a whistleblower for a minute and understand the lengths that they have to go to stay anonymous from the people that would have them silenced for whatever reason.
And how they eventually fail anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times they fail. Absolutely they fail. But Edward Snowden had to do this for the Vault 7 release that took place. But now we know about a massive list of flaws and issues, Eternal Blue being one of them, which is a huge Windows flaw that still exists, that can still be taken advantage of if you're not careful. And many other, speaking of the TVs, there was one in a Samsung flaw that where the FBI could tap into your TV and just listen to your entire house. Because the mic was a condenser like that, and it would just pick up everything.
That reminds me of two things from the book that I wanted to discuss. I mean, the stuff that they were talking about in office buildings that you could do in order to be able to listen in and monitor things was absolutely crazy.
I mean, dropping a Raspberry Pi with a microphone connected up to it, I don't think many people would even notice.
Well, he was talking about simpler things than that. He was talking about printers not having proper encryption and not having anything in the security change because nobody thinks about their printer being a point of vulnerability because it is a somewhat
you are wrong
simple machine.
If you think that.
If it's attached to the network, it's a vulnerability, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes, it's attached to the network. It does have a minimal operating system. There was one guy that was able to get in and modify the firmware because there's no checking to see if the firmware is correct. So you can just apply an update as long as it's named correctly. And use that information to heat up the dryer inside and shut off the heat protection as well, and just let it run until it catches fire and burns. And that's just absolutely nuts. And then also all of the phones in most of your office buildings have some type of speakerphone capability, which means they have an external microphone as well as an external speaker. And with a firmware update, which granted does have to be applied by USB, they could set things up to just listen to whatever phone they wanted. And that's absolutely crazy. And then the other thing that I had wanted to talk about but completely forgot during the section was Mitnick even says that anything can be hacked. The whole goal is to be more difficult than the guy next to you to hack, because if you're difficult enough, if you've thrown up enough barriers, they're just going to move on to an easier target.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Unless they have a specific reason to come after you.
Well, and at that point, I mean, with sufficient knowledge, with sufficient manpower, you're going to lose.
Eventually, yeah. There's no way around it. You throw enough computing power at the problem, and yeah, any password will be cracked eventually.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I wanted to try and distill the good bits for regular folks out of this book. Because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really apply to you. Like, you listening to this right now probably don't use a lot of Tor, right? So, all right, so let's start. Here are the things that you have to know. Burn this into your brain. You are likely the weakest link. It is our human nature to find the easiest way to do things. It is just part of our DNA that we will ignore stuff that doesn't really feel like it matters to us. And a lot of times that means, I just won't change this password. I don't need to change this computer. That virus is totally erased. I'll just keep using the operating system, right? Those are the kinds of things that we ignore all the time. So stop. I know that's easy for me to say, but things like that, you are the weakest link. You're being the weakest link by having those types of thoughts and, like opening up that PDF, right? They know you're the weak link. They're going to send you a spear-fished, because your information is public out on the internet, a email that sounds totally legit. And because of that, you're likely to click on that PDF. You are the reason that it all came crashing down. Not the computer, not the internet service, not the email service, not, well, maybe a little bit the hacker or whoever is sending you that email, but you. It has to be. So here are some things that you can do to protect yourself, because, and when I say you, I mean me too, because I do this too. All of these things, I like to push them away and pretend they don't exist, but they do. So one of the things that you can do, if it's not you that's the problem, then it might be because you never update your stuff. All right, open up Chrome. Look in the top right-hand corner. Is that little down arrow red? Yeah. Chrome has been trying to tell you to update for weeks now. And if it's red, it's time to update. It's well past time to update. They start out little green dot, like, hey, you got to update. Then it goes yellow, it's like, hey, you have an update. And then it's red, and then it's like, hey, dude, you have an update. So run your updates. Keep your operating system up to date. Once a week's good enough. Just do it. And that will be the vast majority of weird hackery flaws that might crop up and cause you grief. But then you have this other group of people. And their argument is, I'm not interesting. They won't hack me. Or I've done nothing wrong. They won't hack me. Or some variation of that. But that totally misses the point. They don't have to target you. You don't have to be someone that someone is looking at to get hacked. The amount of automation that's happening right now with tools like Nessus and tools like Metasploit, they can scan thousands of people at a time. You don't have to be a person of interest. You don't have to look egregiously open. You don't have to even cross their radar. You just show up in a scan, and that scan says, vulnerable to Eternal Blue. And now you're on the list. And all because you went to Starbucks and opened up your laptop at the coffee shop, right? And even more than that. Oh, go ahead.
If you run Windows, you're a target. I mean, look at all of these scammers that your Windows is no longer updating. Right. We need to fix this problem. Here, please install TeamViewer. Oh, log into your bank account. Yeah, okay. Now, I'm not going to show you what I'm doing. Oh, your bank account's empty now. I'm sorry. Bye.
Yeah. So having a good firewall that blocks everything incoming, right? Don't run any services when you're out in public. And keeping yourself updated. Those are going to be the best ways to stay off those scans. Because if there's nothing being shared at all, then you're not going to show up. So speaking of those printers earlier, Shodan. You want to know how bad printers are and how much of a risk they are? Go to Shodan and just Google printer, or just search printer. And you will find a list of printers that quite literally will accept print jobs from the internet. And there are a group of people that go around and print black pages just because they can. And well,
another thing here. Sorry, I keep interjecting.
No, you're good.
Shodan and IP cameras that are insecure.
My God, yes. Yeah. You want to get watched? Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, password protect everything. Do not connect anything directly to the internet from your house. That's the camera thing. Because Shodan quite literally has a list of all the cameras that you can log into and just watch. Just watch. And it's home cameras. People with cameras in their home that do not know that anybody on the internet can just log into that and watch. You in your home. Yeah. Crazy stuff. And this is why you need to learn a little bit about this stuff. It's not just for nerds, though it is, but it's not just for nerds. You should know how to do this stuff so that you can protect yourself. So Wi-Fi, right? This is another one. Here's some good, simple Wi-Fi recommendations that you need to put into practice. Change your SSID. This is the name that you see when you connect to your Wi-Fi. If it has anything that attaches to you, your person, or your equipment, right? So if it says Linksys on it, change it. If it has your name in it, change it. If it has your address in it, change it. It needs to be innocuous, right? It needs to be something that no one can attach to you. That way, they don't know which Facebook account to go start fishing inside of there to find real good information so that they can try to start cracking your password, right? Just make it something simple. FBI surveillance van. Isn't that what you said, Moss?
Not FBI. When I move, it's just surveillance van. But when I move, I'm going to change it to NSA listening station.
Exactly, and that does not connect to Moss in any way. That's perfect. It's a good example of what to do. And use WPA 2 or 3 if your router is new enough. So a lot of this stuff is WPA 2 is broken. It's already broken, but it's still a good speed bump for people that are trying to war drive, right? That just drive around the neighborhood looking for open Wi-Fi. So WPA 3 is better.
It's war droning now.
Oh, because you can hook it up to a drone? How cool. Yep. Then change the admin password, right? If you bought your router off the shelf, the username's admin. There's probably not a whole lot that you can do about that. Change the password because the password by default is blank. It's admin, it's password, it's these things that show up in the first 5 passwords of any good password list. So change that password to something stupidly long. It doesn't have to have like stars and ampersands or all that other stuff in it. It just needs to be long.
And
long is good.
Save it somewhere that you'll be able to find it again.
Yes. Absolutely. You can actually tape it under your router. It's safe to do that because it's in your house. If someone broke into your house and can see your Wi-Fi password, your Wi-Fi password is the least of your worries at that point. So change the admin password.
And that reminds me, something that we haven't covered and I don't see in your notes here. I want to mention use 2FA for everything that you can.
Yes.
It's not a perfect solution, but it is a really, really good solution.
Absolutely. So while we're in that router, if you can, change the admin username to something that is not admin or administrator or root. That would be great. Because the less they know, say they being the person that's trying to, get into your stuff, then the better off you are. So it doesn't do them any good to have a password if they don't have the username to attach it to. And so those passwords need to be long, right? So Kevin brings up in the book a Mac allow and deny list, which it's extremely cumbersome. If you don't have, especially right now, I guess it's kind of common, not have anybody coming over to your house, then it's fantastic. But otherwise, you need to actually add people to the allow list or add people to the deny list to allow or deny them on your network. But this is where a guest Wi-Fi will come in pretty handy. So, that's just something to consider. Not really a recommendation, but war driving is rare. But it's not non-existent. There really are people that go around war driving. They're just checking out Wi-Fi stuff. But again, it's rare. This is why you want to change your Wi-Fi stuff. People exist that do this. And war droning, as Joe mentioned before, right? You don't even have to be in a car. A $20 drone is enough to go check out Wi-Fi stuff. No?
I wouldn't say a $20 drone because you also need enough power to be able to power some type of Wi-Fi receiver.
Oh, I figured like a Pi Zero with a little, battery pack for $10 that you could buy on eBay.
Yeah, but you also need a drone that can pick it up and actually fly around. Most of your $20 drones aren't going to have much of a flight time as it is.
All
And
right,
then you
all right.
add weight to
$50
them.
drone.
Okay, yeah. I can go with that.
All right, so off of Wi-Fi, keep it separated. If you can, use a device dedicated to banking and health type services. The stuff that you want to keep private. The stuff that if it were posted online, you would really not like it to be there. Use a separate device. Joe mentioned this before. Just a little tiny Chromebook or a little Linux laptop or something like that that you dedicate just to the private logging in of these services, right? Your credit cards, your banks, your health, your insurance, all that stuff, right? The stuff that you would probably, paperwork-wise, keep in a fireproof safe, yeah, that stuff. Keep it separated.
And don't log into anything else on that device.
Right, exactly, yeah. Keep your grubby little other stuff out of that laptop. That's what your desktop is for. That's what your daily driver laptop is for, not for bills. Then HTTPS everywhere. Just, you don't need the EFF's plugin, HTTPS everywhere, anywhere, whatever it is, to keep you from going to HTTPS websites, right? Or to make sure that you're on HTTPS websites. You don't have to have it. Just look up in the URL bar. Does it say HTTPS? Then you're good. You don't need an add-on to do that for you. But it does make it easier, and Firefox does that for you automatically now. So the idea, though, is if you're on an HTTPS website, then nobody but you and the website know what you're saying to each other. Yes, people can look in and see the IP address that you're going to and kind of glean some information out of that and figure that you're probably going to Amazon.com or something like that. But they don't know what you're doing, and they don't know what you're saying, and they don't know your login information because that is also encrypted. So the S in HTTPS is important because if you don't have that S, everything is in clear text. And if you're in a public spot, then anybody on Wi-Fi can just see what you're doing. So be careful. HTTPS everywhere. And if HTTPS isn't everywhere, VPN. A VPN in public. Now, here's the thing. I'm not talking about NordVPN. I'm not talking about Proton VPN, and I'm not talking none of those. None of them. A VPN that connects you to your home network. If you trust your home network enough that you'll do private things like pay your bills, then when you're in public, force your internet connection to route to your home network. And from there, then do your normal stuff. I still probably wouldn't pay bills out in public, but this routes all of your information so that, number one, it's encrypted. So even though it's on a public Wi-Fi network, it still gets encrypted and routed somewhere else. And the fact that you trust your home network. So that's where you are, essentially, virtually. And it's super easy to set this up. If you have a Raspberry Pi, then you can use Pi VPN to get it all set up. It installs it for you automatically and makes it real easy to set up accounts.
Many home routers also have a setup within them to just create a VPN for you and give you the VPN file.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's what Pi VPN does for you. It's probably a little more involved than your router one, but yeah, it's not that hard to set up. And yeah, I mean, hey, we have an email address that you can send your questions to in case you're trying to set it up.
And I know I've said it before, and I will keep saying it, but like with your NordVPN and your PIA and all of those commercial VPN sites, and even VPNing to home, all that's doing is passing the trust.
Exactly.
You definitely don't trust the endpoint to be McDonald's Wi-Fi. You trust your home more. Maybe in certain circumstances you trust PIA or you trust NordVPN or whatever your VPN provider is, but just understand that there's still an endpoint where the trust has to go.
Yep, exactly. So there's also WireGuard as well, which is something I'm looking into. It seems to be pretty easy to set up, but I just haven't dug down and done it yet.
Same here.
So another point, Tor isn't for you. But if it is, keep it in mind that logging into any service that is attached to your real name totally blows the whole reason Tor exists out of the water. Tor is for anonymous web surfing or sending of information that does not tie back to you personally. Otherwise, you've blown your cover. The whole reason for Tor is anonymity, and the moment you tie any activity to your personal anything, it's over. The whole reason using Tor, you've blown it.
So you're telling me I don't open the Tor browser and log into Gmail?
Exactly, right? Because I guess you would still they wouldn't know exactly where you're coming from, but you could do that with a VPN. So why even bother with Tor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, and the thing about that though is that when you log into Gmail, probably with Chrome because you love yourself some Google stuff, your browser has an identity. So they still know where you are.
Yeah, even if you log out, believe me, they're going to know what you're doing.
Yep.
I'm sorry, if you're in Tor browser, you're already using Firefox. So how do you get to Chrome from there? I did not understand that.
Oh, I'm just saying that you can use, you can set up the Tor router to route all your information and then use Chrome behind that.
Yeah, system-wide.
Yeah. And, speaking of a Chromium-based browser that builds Tor in, there's Brave. So, private session with Tor, and not saying that it's going to keep you anonymous, but it's an easy way to jump on there and, do some anonymous surfing for a few minutes and then close it all down.
I do also want to say that I have tried to use Tor in the past, but, and I understand it was probably just my experience at the time, but my God, was it slow, unusably, terribly slow.
Yeah. It's for people that are telling secrets. That's what it's for. And most of the times those secrets are in text. So you don't need a lot of bandwidth for it. Look, Tor is not for torrenting. It just is not. It will never be for that. It's just not fast enough. So, if you're going to do that, do some VPN or whatever. But yeah, Tor is not for the regular old person. And, if you use it every single day, there's the good chance you probably logged into something and blown your cover. Anyway, all of this to say, just don't be the low-hanging fruit. If it's easier for them to hack the person sitting next to you, then they will. And hopefully you'll be gone by the time they decide to bring their gaze back to you. So, yeah, do some of these things and you'll be better than the other guy, right? I say it all the time. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the other guy. That's the idea. And I'm going to guess this is Moss that put this down there. But there are tinfoil hats for sale in the lobby as you leave the theater. And that'll do it for our Linux innards. So we'll head down to vibrations from the weekend. Feedback, it's feedback time. All right. Okay, who's got this one? Me? I can do it.
I would do it, but I'm terrible at reading.
All right.
Reading aloud, that is.
This one is from Hank Barda by email. So he says, "Hi all, in a recent podcast, there was a mention of using Markdown to format notes. This resonates with me. I used to keep copious notes in Google Docs, including command invocations. I ran into difficulty when I tried to copy-paste commands from the doc back to the command line. It did not always work. I finally figured out that docs would substitute other characters for multiple spaces that looked like spaces, but that bash did not interpret as white space. I switched to Markdown because the renders I'm familiar with do not do that, and it allows me to keep my notes locally instead of with a third party. Incidentally, I also use Git as a repository for my notes. I use a package called mkdocs to render my notes. I have it installed on my laptop and desktop and can view serve my notes when convenient. However, at home, I have a Raspberry Pi with sufficient scripting to refresh a local copy of my notes repo when I push changes, build the corresponding website, and serve the website using Python. interested in that, I'll dig it up and provide copies. Ooh, I think I might be. I use VS Code, Ghostwriter, or any convenient text editor to update notes. If I'm using a Chromebook with none of these tools available, I can simply log into my Git instance and edit the documents there if at home. It's great. And this is one of those points where you can do this not at home too if you have WireGuard or OpenVPN as a VPN provider to get you back into your house. So one of the cool things about that, you get the security, right, of using the encryption of using a VPN out in a public place, but you also get the ability to get to your stuff at home. So if you need to make a change or you need to check a camera or something like that, you can use your VPN to do that with. So give me a sec. Let me see. I did respond to Hank, but I forgot to put it in the notes. So I respond to Hank and I say, you and I both use Markdown for the same reason. It's just so simple once you get the hang of it and leaves out all the formatting junk you get stuck with using a full word processor. I'll definitely have a look at MKDocs, but VS Code is where I do all of my Markdown outside of Nextcloud itself. Sometimes you just need local notes and a little bit of theming. Git is something I'm really looking forward to using, as Git is like Markdown. Fantastic once you learn how to use it. Thanks for sharing.
You know, Leo, you turned me on to Markdown, and we've started documenting all of our documentation. We're migrating to Markdown and hosting it on a private GitLab. So I'm going to have to look into this Git thing. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, just self-hosted, slim, easy to get started Git. That's all it is, and it's fantastic. If you know how to use Git, you know how to use Git. And the fact that Git, pretty much every Git provider does Markdown color coding in the first place. So Markdown is just a shoe-in for Git.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next up, Larry Murphy by email. Hi, Leo and all. Wanted to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And again, to thank you all for a great podcast. One of the things I like about Mint is the consistency. It does have that. I like things to stay the same. I always use the same desktop icons and programs and browsers. On the browsers, I use 4 of them. I use speed dial on all of them with the same icons. I also use several folder icons. It makes it easy to spot the folders on my drives and the web pages. I have included one that I use for Leo's YouTube channel. I think you might recognize the icon. Again, thank you all for your dedication and time. The show is always interesting and fun. And the icon that he's talking about is an icon of my face.
Leo, do you have is there a Leo YouTube channel? I'm gonna miss this.
My Terminal Tricks channel.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple of videos that I need to edit and get out there, but it's just so time consuming to edit that and put it out. So yeah, soon. I have one that I'm going to do for turning off all the, as we're talking about security, turning off all of the Spectre and Meltdown mitigations to squeeze out more performance out of your Intel chips. And I think my Pulse Audio fix, the pitch shift thing, I have that fix as well in a video that I just need to edit and get up. The last time we got an email from Nick, who was talking about an error message that he was getting with an FSCK. When he booted up, it just would not boot. So after some back and forthing, he writes, "Thanks, Leo. I've ordered a new SSD and will reinstall Mint 20. May I ask if it's possible to have a spot on your podcast called Newbie Corner, where newbies like myself can ask basic questions? With due respect, sometimes it is like a new language that you all use that I can understand and identify a few points. Many thanks." So I say, I hope the SSD came in and is performing well for you. Honestly, the more stuff geared at newcomers, the better. Over the past few months, we've been toying around with more community involvement. What were you thinking here? Writing in questions, recording something and sending it in? I'm definitely open to it. We'll talk about it on the show today. So let's talk about it on the show today. What do you guys think?
I like that idea. I think it's great.
All right.
Yeah.
I think every time I open my mouth, it's Newbie Corner.
Well,
So
I like
we need
that
more.
idea too. Yep.
Well, where newbies can ask questions, isn't that basically the section we're in right now?
Sort of, but I don't know, because a lot of times this section can get, as he said, really involved and really complex.
We could do an innards once every few weeks, which was specific. We could publicise when we were going to do it and say, if you want to ask any questions in the innards for this particular episode, we'll see if we can answer it for you.
We've also done, quite a bit of interviews and things. What about having 3 or 4 newbies come on and that be the innards section? We have them get on, we have them ask their questions, we walk them through any steps that they need and give the explanations for why we're doing and what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Nick, write us back. Let us know what you're thinking, and
that might be a bit complex audio-wise, but
yeah,
I'm sure we could get round some. Maybe do 1 or 2 at a time. If we had 3 or 4 on the same episode, it could be really complicated.
Oh, and pulling his hair out right
7
now.
or 8
No,
people
just take
before.
the newbies out. Just take the newbies out of the Mumble feed.
I'm not editing the audio.
It's easy for you to say.
Hey,
Yeah.
come
You
on.
guys aren't editing the audio either.
No, be kind to Owen, though. Come on, he might desert us.
Or off of the YouTube feed.
Yeah, or pull it off the YouTube feed. You can do it the easy way. If
All
it,
right. So you heard it here first,
too
folks.
difficult.
Joe's gonna do the basic audio editing and then hand that over to Owen. Sweet.
I'm down with that. That's perfectly fine. Yank it all off of YouTube, put in the truncate silences, noise reduction, and voila.
Nice. But that'll do it. I'm excited for it, Nick. I hope you write us back and let us know what you're thinking. And I'll bring it up again. I forgot the numbers, but Linux Lover over on Reddit. Probably sometime in the new year, we'll need to get you on the show and get your podcast debut going. All right. Next up, Moss.
Well, Wayne writes, thank you for making this show. It's really nice to listen to Linux shows that haven't gone down the sponsorship model. I've had to unsubscribe from all shows that have started to do this because if I hear another DigitalOcean or Linode ad, I could be committed to an institution.
Let's just take a break right here for a minute to talk about our sponsor.
Keep up the good work and look forward to listening to more of your episodes. Best wishes, Wayne.
For just $5 a month.
Well, we do have my sponsors. You can always. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All right.
We
next
should make up some fake ads.
You know what?
April Fool's joke.
No, we will be playing an ad today.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh,
Actually,
Yeah, it was
true.
a bumper at the beginning for the HPR, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Oh,
HPR does
well.
not pay us
Oh
for
crap,
that.
we lost a viewer.
No,
What a bunch of hypocrites. Oh my gosh.
no,
man.
that is a freebie,
Yeah, that is a
gratis, because we go on it as well.
Yeah, that is a community building exercise, not an ad.
It is.
Yeah, and I would not mind playing adverts from other listeners that have started podcasts. I know we have at least one person, what's their name? In
Big
Australia.
Aussie Prepper, it's Hob.
Yeah, Big Aussie Prepper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the name. Hob. Yeah, he's created that podcast, and he has an RSS now, and he is in some podcatchers already, and that I wouldn't mind playing an advert from that on the show.
Well, we could also always offer $100 off on your first 2 months of using HPR.
Yeah. Email me for the code. You can get 1 month of mintCast for
90%
free.
discount.
All right. Next up, Aaron. He says, "Howdy, Leo. First off, I'd like to say thanks for all the." Well, hold on. Now I wonder. Is he from Texas, or does he know that I'm from Texas? Is that where the howdy came from? Or is it just like using howdy? I don't know. Anyway, he says, first off, I'd like to say thanks for all the work you and the guys put into mintCast. I enjoy regularly listening. You're going to have to tell me where howdy comes from. Speaking of which, I was listening to mintCast 349.5, and I think this was the second time I heard you mention that you wanted to set up Git with Docker. I just wanted to say that Git is amazing. I recently set it up, and I now host the majority of my Git repositories locally. The ones I do have on GitLab and GitHub are mirrored to my local instance of Git. It's totally awesome. The Git team just released an update for Git 1.13, and now Kanban boards are an enabled capability. It's really awesome, and I could go on and on. However, I'm writing because I would like to share my Docker Compose file with you. Yes. In order to help you get started with Get Tea when if you decide to try it out. I think you and I share. Yes, I think you and I share a similar characteristic in that we have way more interest than we have time for. And it took a while to get the Docker Compose file working, so hopefully this can save you some time. Anyway, here's my Get Tea Docker Compose with some tweaks. It can be made to run on a Raspberry Pi if you like. If you decide to give it a go, I'd be glad to help you get things set up. Thanks again for all your hard work on mintCast. And he's got his a link to his website down there, which we will leave in the show notes.
That is really awesome, man. This Get Tea thing is like the new jam.
Oh,
Yes.
I do want to mention Get Tea is not a sponsor.
No, they are not.
Yeah.
We just like them a lot. So I write back, you're welcome. It's a good time putting the show together. I'm glad you enjoy it. Docker's been something that I've been wanting to dive into for a long time, but getting it done and moving on to another project tends to win. So you're right. Too many projects. Snaps and Ubuntu tend to win, and they're very similar to Docker in some ways, but not nearly as portable or popular. Thank you for the Compose file. This will help me dissect how Docker works much, much better, and will likely give me the kick in the pants I need to just dive in head first and make the switch. Likely on a Raspberry Pi. Thank you again. You're awesome. When you see the URL, you'll get why that's awesome. But anyway, man. So the thing that I think is so hard about Docker is that it's opaque from the outside. When you're just getting started, it's like, oh, cool, I understand how Dockers work. I understand how containers work, and you plug this container into this container, and this container does the front end, and this container is the database, and this container does the middleman, and all this stuff, and eventually your head just goes. So having a Docker Compose file to work backwards from is extremely important when, it's kind of opaque from the outside. You get to learn why this Docker container needs to connect to this Docker container and how it does that. Because Docker Compose is really just a bunch of instructions to Docker on what to do and how. So yes, it's a blueprint. And from a blueprint, I think I can figure it out. So again, thanks, Aaron.
Going back to sponsorship, do you think the Mint team will sponsor us?
They already do. We're on their list of cool things to check out. I think that's probably as close as we're gonna get. Yep, I'm just happy that we're official.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll do it for feedback. Let's check this out. All right. As if you thought you could get away from it, Get Tea. Go check it out. It is.
Seriously,
really
we're
good.
Not sponsored by them.
No, I just wanted to put a link to it. I don't know if we had a link to it up in the rest of the show, but even if we did, I wanted to make sure that there's a link to it so that if you're interested in hosting your own Git and you don't want it to be massive like GitLab, Get Tea is a good way to do it. So go check that out. Now, Moss.
Well, I found my history. BBS, the documentary. It's 5 hours long, but you'll never see this stuff elsewhere. I didn't get into BBSing until 1988, but there are a lot of forgotten things here, including the age when free phone calls were only for your local calling area. Also, when people bought an IMSI or Altair and had to put it together themselves and then had to figure out how to connect to anyone else. A lot of good stuff in this. I've watched the first hour of it only, but I've got it linked. Another thing I found is Yippee. I'm amazed I didn't talk about this last episode. It's a privacy-focused search engine powered by Watson, and it only takes one click to make it default in Firefox. I will tell you, it's slower than Google, but you won't get tracked.
One other is the Start Page, right? Start
Page is bought by someone who is an advertising company.
Oh, boo. Never mind. It's going down the drain. Just kidding. Scratch that. It'll DuckDuckGo. All right.
Well, you also have Start.me. That is what they use in Pale Moon.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice. Well, unless there's a last-minute entry, I think that'll do it for Check This Out.
I just want to bring up Get Tea and where you can find it.
Oh.
All right. When are they going to come out with Get Coffee?
You just need to go to getea.io. And for $5 a month.
Someone is going to be so annoyed at this.
Oh, no, I know. All right.
Yeah,
well,
Tony and I were actually talking about what we might do for sponsorship for distro hoppers, and I'm going, well, the only company that really fits just went out of business a few months ago. The people that were printing out discs for people that wanted to try out this distro or that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, don't sponsor us. Sponsor the stuff that we use. Archive.org, right? Go. Yeah. Well, if you didn't have an ad before, you have one now. Archive.org, right? Those guys are doing an end of year drive right now, and they need your help. And this is where this podcast lives. So, if you got an extra $1, give them an extra $1.
And if you can spare $1 a month, do a little repeat one.
Heck yeah, that would be fantastic. It's like it reminds me of the Wikipedia one where you got Jimmy Wales up top being like, "Hey, if everybody gave $3." Yeah,
all right, let's like wrap this thing up, Leo.
All right. So our announcement is our next show will be Sunday, December 27th at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time, and there's a link now. Thank you, Londoner, for providing this. It is a link that will convert that time into your local time zone, and you don't have to do any of that hard math to try and figure it out. So click the link on the website.
Show.
Yes, next episode is going to be us revisiting how wrong we all were.
Some of us were actually not far off the mark.
Yeah, surprisingly, a lot was right.
Yeah, so I think there will be some points divvied out. So come back around in a couple of weeks and hear how wrong we are, and write us in your predictions as well. We would love to know, love to read them out on the show, and love to share them with absolutely everybody. So next year, we can come back and see how wrong you were too. So Joe, before we get out of here, where can we get more of you?
Well, you can find me on a couple other podcasts on the Linux Link Tech Show, which you can find at www.llts.org. I'm on the Linux Lugcast, www.linuxlugcast.com, and we'd love to have anybody come join us on the show, really. You can find me on MeWe, or you can email me directly, jb@mintcast.org.
And Bo.
Joe, it's been a while since you've been on ECN Radio. We need to schedule that sometime. But you can find my other podcast at ecnradio.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Undercast Collective, where we play a lot of tabletop games, play that Star Trek game I mentioned earlier, as well as we recently started a new series where we're looking at the old TRS Dungeons and Dragons, like Choose Your Adventure books. And we're getting guests on the show to choose how they would survive the book. So if you're into that old school RPG style stuff, definitely check out the new YouTube channel.
Well, one, you have to send me an invite. Two, we still have to do our episode of Film Flams.
Oh, yeah. What movie did you want to do?
Malice in Wonderland.
Oh,
yes, Malice in Wonderland. That's what you agreed to.
All right. Maybe one. Eventually, I'll give you a call for that one.
And Moss, what about you?
Well, you can find me at It's Moss, which is moldering away rather nicely since nobody has submitted any content. You can find me on MeWe. I've got several blogs, but the only ones you're interested in are Peaceful Hippo and linuxquestions.org. My music is on Bandcamp and on various YouTube channels. There are 3 different links there. You can email me at moss@mintcast.org. I am at Zyvola at HostTuckSocial on Mastodon. DistroHoppersDigest@gmail.com. And if you've got $3 a month to throw around somewhere, why don't you contact me at my sponsors? Thank you.
Hey, speaking of linuxquestions.org, how much longer do we have on that poll for best podcast or whatever?
They haven't even opened it yet. I wanted to get people on in time to actually be a full-fledged member so they could vote.
Well, hey, you listening right now. Are you a member at linuxquestions.org? If not, become one. That way, you can vote for mintCast and let us be number 1. Yay!
I don't care if we move up to number 4, but being down at number 9 is not that great, although it still puts us in the middle of the pack.
That's true.
3 more votes and we would have tied for number 4.
That's pretty cool. Either way, 1 vote is enough. Thank you if you decide to do that. If not, thank you anyway. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, well, you can get me at Hacker Public Radio. I'm host ID 338. And my bouldering blog is tony-hughes.blogspot.com.
We moulder so well in our old age.
Yeah, we do. I'm on Twitter, TonyH1212. And you can get me at th@mintcast.org and distrohopperdigest@gmail.com.
Tony Watts isn't here this time, but you can get him at tw@mintcast.org or just search him up. Echoes of Savages. Josh, what about you?
You can email me at joshontech@protonmail.com, or you can find me at joshontech on Twitter and most other social sites. It's the same.
Not to put you on the spot, Bo, but did you do that? Or did Josh not say anything yet?
About his new email address?
The email.
Oh no, yeah, I haven't done it. I haven't heard what you want it to be yet, Josh.
Oh, Josh, right here on the show. What do you want your email to be?
Announce it now for everybody.
You don't.
You're putting me on the spot.
I know. All right, because I said it needs to be hawkinator@mintcast.org. I don't know how well that's going to go over, but
it's all right. We'll clean up the spot later, Josh.
Anyway, so Josh will soon have a mintcast.org email. But as for me, you can find me at leochavez.org and at leochavez on Twitter. Leo@mintcast.org if you need to get me directly. LinuxUserspace.show is some other stuff you can hear me on, or you can get your 5-minute news digest at Full Circle Weekly News. But before we leave, we want to make sure to acknowledge some of the people who make mintCast possible. Owen Peary for our audio editing. Josh Lowe for all his work on the website. Hobstar for our logo. Londoner for our time sync. And Dale for throwing in some articles for us. Londoner too, actually. A lot of those links came from those 2 folks. Bytemark Hosting for hosting mintcast.org and our Mumble server. Archive.org for hosting our audio files. HPR for our backup Mumble room. And of course, the Linux Mint development team for the fine distro we love to talk about every single fortnight.
Thanks, Clem.
Thanks, Clem.
Thank you, Clem.
And that's a wrap.
Yay!
That's a wrap.
We almost had Tony going to bed at a decent hour.
Almost.
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and drive-in movies.
All right, I stopped my recording, but I want to test out this soundboard real quick.
Twice.
Everybody has an echo. Oh, I know. All right, nobody talk for a minute.
Okay. Dun.
Help with the tree. Oh darn it! It's way too quiet. Can you say that again? Say it again. We heard it. Try again. Oh, okay. What?
Can you help with the tree?
Can I help with the tree?
We can't reach the top.
Can't reach the top.
We're short.
You're short.
Yes.
Did you say? Can you say that again? Say it again.
I'm not saying.
Oh, we heard it.
Oh, they heard it. Good.
All right, I gotta jump off here, guys, but I will upload my file.
All right, sweet.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of last year's HPR New Year's show.
Well, all right. I guess I'll kill mine too. Save this bad boy.
Yeah, I'm just saving mine at the moment.
Export.
350.
Audio.
You know, we didn't even mention that it was the 350th show.
You did at the start.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically we named the show, but we weren't like, hey, and it's the 350th show. We're still here doing this show on purpose.
We do not use porpoises for this show. No cruelty to animals allowed.
No, they do it willingly.
My audio is heading to drive now, and I will stop the mumble so I can send that as well.
Do you normally upload the mumble? I thought it was only if there were issues.
I've been sending it so that if Owen wants to see pre and post show, bloopers for including as Easter eggs.
Okay.
Starting my upload.
Yeah, that was something that he was asking about before, so might as well just be a matter of course now. Bob is talking
yes,
about...
but is it the first course or the second course?
Any of them, all of the above. Bob was talking about coming on. A little time for live streaming. I might have to see if I can join in on a podcast sometime in January. That'd be cool. Yeah.
One of our friends in India has talked about doing a distro review for DHD, but he doesn't like his voice, and he produced something that had music that was louder than his voice all the way through it. So we're trying to talk to him about that, but he goes by Maverick.
Yeah, I did
on
listen
the
to
Linux
that. I was kind of little shaky on. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Be as clear as you possibly can, and yeah, less of the stuff that would distract from your voice would be good.
Oh crap!
A couple of his uploads were pretty good, but then there was that one.
I've gone this whole episode on Wi-Fi. I've got a cord right up to the back of my table, and I didn't plug it in for Ethernet.
That might explain the latency.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a good distance from the modem,
How funny. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Wi-Fi too, and it's pretty far away from the AP. I keep meaning to run my other AP in the ceiling, but I did not.
It's not. Oh, boy. My fault. I'm sorry. There,
well,
now
at least
I'm
it
plugged
worked.
in.
All right, y'all. I'm going to head over and kill the live stream. For those of you still here and listening and all that stuff, or if you were here the whole entire time, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. All of that good stuff. See you guys again soon.
Bye-bye. See you Saturday. Okay, mine says it's up. 187.
Yep. Mine's there. 213.
Mine's been saying less than a minute for like 3 minutes.
What was the show number?
Mine's got a minute left.
350. What? For what?
No, for last year's.
Well, subtract 26.